Does anybody know what today is? Today is my first day with the feature unlocked where I can invite people to join the live. I think that's what it's saying to me, if I understand correctly. So, if anyone has any questions, how we know the Earth is a globe, and that goes for globers who just want to learn more, or for flat earthers who want friendly, chill debate. There should be a request to join button if you have enough followers. So like, if anybody can see that button, please let me know in the comments or press it, and I'll try to figure out how to do. I've never done this before, so I'm learning here. So my phone keeps saying you are using too much memory, which may cause the system to crash. I don't know why it would be saying that now and not any other time I've gone live. We'll see. Welcome everyone. I'm trying to figure out the settings here. Allow requests from viewers. Yeah, that's enabled, so that should cause a request to join button to show up for some people. If you have enough followers, I think. So, all right, we're getting a few more people here. Guess what, guys? This is the first day I have the feature unlocked where I think I'm able to let people actually join as guests, and we can chat that way. So this should be a more exciting live, hopefully. If anyone has any questions, how we know the Earth is a globe, and that goes for globers or flat earthers, feel free to comment, or if you have the button that says request to join, press it, and we can chat that way. I'm still learning how all this works. I think some of you should have that button now. That's what it seems to be telling me. Fingers crossed. What about the firmament? Samuel Powers asked that. So, I mean, I don't know. What about it? Are you asking, like, what my interpretation of that Bible verse is? If I don't believe that there's a physical, like, hard cover over us? I mean, I think the word firmament is kind of mistranslated. It's the word firmament, which appeared in the Vulgate, the Latin Vulgate Bible, was influenced by the word stereoma, which came from the Septuagint. I think I've got that right. Stereoma was a mistranslation to begin with, because it was influenced by Greek mythology. In reality, the best English translation is expanse. It just refers to the sky, including space. Let's see. A few more comments here, trying to catch up. What was the footage of the sun in the clouds? Not exactly sure what footage you're referring to, but I've seen a lot of flat earthers like show footage where it almost looks like the sun is in front of the clouds. Every time I've seen that, it's been a clear example of overexposure. So the signal of what the sun looks like, or what the clouds look like in front of the sun, is just being drowned out by the overpowering signal of what the sun looks like, because clouds are translucent. So, I mean, until a flat earther shows me footage where the sun is not overexposed and it looks like it's in front of the clouds, then that's just, worthless evidence. There's this flat earth we on here that says, hold on. There's this flat Earth we on here that says the emergency flight landings or whatever is proof. Sorry, I'm not sure what you're saying. We know the Earth isn't flat because of the sunset. Yes, exactly. That's why I've got that in my background. Sunset, low-res video. That guy's username is just a bunch of spaces, it looks like. I'm not sure how to even pronounce that. Sunset in one place, sunrise in another is proof. I mean, it even gets live streamed. Yeah. So, somebody says, encourage more viewers to share. Yeah, I guess that's a good idea. I'm new to this. I don't know how to do this. So, yeah, I guess if anybody has any supportive feelings for my endeavors here, please share my live with your friends or whatever, and maybe like it too so TikTok knows it's a good one to recommend, I guess. That's what I'm supposed to do, right? So Lilith asks, what is the silliest thing a flat earther has told you? That would be a very tough competition. There are a lot of silly things flat earthers have told me. Probably one of my all-time favorites is still basically the first thing a flat earther ever said to me when, you know, the conversation really came to a head, to that moment, you know, when it was fight or flight, I guess. They said there's more than one way to skin a cat, and they said this about math. I have a video about that on my profile. It's like one of the first flat earth videos I published. And that was the first flat earther I ever met. That happened all the way back in 2017. So that's still probably one of the winners, at least. I don't know off the top of my head anything that tops that. Got some people arguing in the comments here. There's lots of silly things NASA shows us. Okay, yeah, Tyler Rice, you are gerrymandering your definition of what is a real photo and what's not. As soon as you can explain in clear, logical form what your criteria are for deciding whether a photo is real or CGI, then just, you know, just be quiet about NASA being, like, putting out fake photos, please. Because, like, that is such a garbage argument. And I don't mean to say to you in general, be quiet. That's not what I mean. I welcome you here in my live. I'm just saying that's a bad argument. Let's see. The thing you need. There are some composites. There are some photos that are not composites. I mean, I don't think the Discover satellite makes composites. I think those are just one instrument taking a photo, like taking one photo, and it's T-Mobile Xfinity sucks. They admit it, dude. Are you talking about NASA? Are you saying NASA admits they fake photos? I don't think that's true. There have been so many cases of flat earthers saying that NASA admits something, and I tell you what, every time I look into it, it is something so ridiculous where the flat earther is clearly misunderstanding what NASA is saying. NASA does not fake photos, and they have never said that they fake photos. Okay, that's not a thing. So Lilith, of course, but to flat earthers, we are surrounded by ice. The fact you can live stream without heavy lag is proof. Study physics. 1,000 years of accurate predictions based on the globe. Yep. There are multiple photos we have that are just single shots. Yep. I know it's flat because I don't use evidence. NASA admit they use composite images. They haven't produced a full photo of Earth. Oh, yes, they have. You've reached the end. That they have. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, have people requested to join and I'm not? Okay, I'm sorry, guys. All right, so there's somebody has requested. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here's our first. All right. Are these sorted in order of who's requested? Um, I'm gonna bring on Archer.
What's up, man?
Hi.
Um, I'm, I'm
This is not how I want it. I'm just gonna. Sorry, I'm gonna mess with the settings for a
You're
second.
good, bro. You're good. I saw it said Q&A now. So I reckon you're not a flat earther.
That's correct. I am a
Okay.
Glober.
I was
In
gonna say,
fact, I took this time lapse composite myself.
lovely. Yeah, I always use the argument of gravity because flat earthers don't believe in gravity. They claim like buoyancy and density. And so I always reference time dilation and how we can observe this from, time can move differently from, depending where you are, surface of the earth, higher up. I mean, it's been measured very, much shorter
Yeah.
than that even. But then, they typically have nothing to say then. So that's always the argument I go for. But then from there, I've gotten, because, they use atomic clocks. So from there, I've gotten, oh, I don't believe atoms exist. Um, so now I'm having to prove the existence of atoms. How would you prove atoms?
How would I prove that atoms exist?
Yeah,
I actually don't know off the top of my head. I believe there are, there are experiments showing it. There's history behind how we came to that conclusion, but I would have to research that.
yeah,
I don't know that off the top of my head.
yeah. All right.
So Archer, are you a Glober then?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I do have some flat earthers I think who have requested. If you
You're
don't
good.
mind,
You're good. Let them
I'm
up. Let
going
them up.
to. Yeah,
It's all,
thank you so much, though. I
it's all
appreciate
good.
your input.
Yeah. Have a good night.
You too. Okay. All right. John Smith, are you a? Oh, I think I remember you from last night. Now that I read, you're a Glober, right? Were you the one talking about surveying?
Yes, sir. And I did that drawing for you that we talked about.
Oh, you did? Okay. Well, Level Plane has been asking. Level Plane, hang on with us for just a minute, if it's okay. I'm gonna look at what John Smith has drawn, just because we were talking about that last night. Hopefully, this will just take a minute. Sound good? Um, is that what you were you gonna
But
show me, John Smith?
yeah, let me see if I can get my thing set up here real quick
Okay. Thanks for
because
your
I
patience,
always
Level
have.
Plane.
Okay, let me see if
This
I can
should be
get this
cool.
thing to come up.
This guy seems to know what he's talking about, guys. He's got some experience surveying.
All right, fuck it. Okay, for whatever reason, it is not cooperating with me right now. So let me work on this for a second. Okay, let's do that and see if that'll save. There we go. All right, so you'll have to
Okay.
bring up
Yeah,
my
let me
thing so we can.
switch the. Is this gonna? Does
Okay,
that help?
so yeah. All right, so this right here is like just a generic lake. Okay, so if you start over here from this point to this point would be 1 mile. This point here would be halfway in between at this peninsula. Okay, so you're about a half a mile from here to here. Okay, you follow me?
Yes.
Okay, so if you set up a water level from this point to this point, okay, and your instrument is set up halfway in between. Okay, so now you can see where I've got the end of the water level here, the end of the water level here, and my instrument in the center. Okay, so if you instrument and you're showing
Oh,
your
okay. So when you say
crosshairs,
water level, are you talking about literally a pipe that's like a mile long that has water
a
in it?
tube, yeah, yeah, you get clear plastic tubing you can buy from Home
Okay,
Depot, Lowe's,
okay,
whatever,
okay. Yeah, yeah.
and you zero your instrument so that your reticle is centered on that water on the level of the water line at both locations. Okay, at the same time.
Yeah.
So you sight to one, then you turn your instrument 180 degrees and you shoot back to the other one. And as long as you're showing this, then you know that your instrument is dead level, correct?
Yeah. Should be.
Okay, right. So if I'm showing, for instance, 42 inches from my sight line, from the level of the water line down to the water level of the lake at both ends, and you measure the same thing from your sight line to the water level of the lake here, you'll only have about 40 inches because the earth
Okay.
is curving like
Yep.
this.
Yep.
You're
Awesome.
here, so it's falling away from you at both ends. Okay, you see what I'm talking about?
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That makes so
And
much sense.
that's,
I'm so glad you showed me that. Thank you. I was so
yeah, because
confused
I mean,
last
like I
night.
said, yeah. Well, I spent 30 years in the construction industry, had my own business for 25 years. And when you're, doing like a major warehouse or a pier at a dock, a major dock facility, anything like that. But some of these things were more than a quarter of a mile diagonally across them. So how do you make sure that everything's nice and flat for your customer? Well, you use a water level to make sure that your instrument is dead level, and you shoot all your sightings off of that to make sure that everything's because your customers get kind of irate if the floor, that concrete floor that they paid, maybe $1 million for, is all wavy and up and down and not flat.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure everything's dead nuts on.
Yep.
So, and
Awesome.
that's
Well,
the whole thing. Everybody's gotten so accustomed to having to use these super advanced, oh, we have to talk about, satellites and airplanes and, all these extraneous
and
mathematical
lasers.
calculations to prove it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't need all that. And the thing about it is, you can go get about a 40 power instrument that is good for shooting more than a half a mile. Okay, and they're not that expensive. Okay, you can go buy the tubing at Home Depot or Lowe's to be able to do that over a mile for maybe a couple $100. You can get an instrument for 4, 5, 600 bucks. Go do the experiment. Just go do the
Right.
experiment. Okay,
Yeah. But
but
that
of course,
requires learning science, and yeah,
flippers
that's
won't do it.
some people don't want to do that, but we'll
No,
see.
flippers won't do. They will never conduct the experiments.
Nope.
So anyway, all right.
Unless it
I just
shows that they're
want to.
right. Yeah.
Well, they can't show they're right. That's the whole problem. They won't do an experiment that proves that that an actual
Yeah.
true experiment. They all, oh well, we're going to do anyway. That's just my experience because I've been debating this with people for years. It's like, oh no,
Yeah.
flat Earth. I said, oh right. Well, here's an experiment you can do to prove. Okay, if the numbers are the same and your instrument set up properly, okay, that would be flat Earth. But if you set up your instrument properly and do the experiment properly, it debunks flat Earth. Well, we're not going to do the experiment. Okay, right. So sorry. At that point, it's like, okay, so you're not actually interested in doing true science.
Right. All right. Well,
But
thank you
anyway,
so much. I appreciate.
I saw you wrong and drug it out like I told you I would. So, all right, take care.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, drop me back down.
All right. Let's see. Switch to that layout and all right, level plane. It's trying to connect, I think. Level plane. Does he need to press something on his end? Level plane. Are you still with us? I bored him to tears. He left. Well, we got people in the comments arguing. Level plane wanted to join. I had somebody else join first for a moment. Oh no, connection timed out. Oh no, level plane. Request again. I will put you at the front of the line if you request again. Okay, so I guess until he does, I'm gonna try to catch up on some of these comments. What is going on here? Um, Um, Somebody asked, is the host a flat earther? I'm a glober. I am gonna have to figure out who's on what side here in the comments. Um, I feel like I saw somebody say that it's been flat ever since God created the heavens and the earth. And guys, do not use the Bible to support flat Earth theory. If you want to do that, join my live. Okay, we'll debate because you got to explain Matthew 5:45 and Ephesians 4:26. Okay, there is no way to be consistent um, with your biblical hermeneutic, your exegetical principles, and support robothemist flat Earth theory from the Bible. No way to do it. Oh, I should have brought my Bible from the other room. That's what I was forgetting. I had this feeling I was forgetting something when I started the live. Uh, oh, okay. That is too bad. Level Plane was like begging to join, and he couldn't wait like 5 minutes. I'm so sorry. Guys, can you tell me, like, has anybody gone live on TikTok and had like guests queued requesting to join? Can you tell me, like, does it go in order of like the person who requested first is in the bottom of thank you. uh or does the person who requested first appear at the top? Because I feel like I might have let somebody. You think it's in order, so the person at the top requests first? Okay, I got a request from BP Southern. Let's see. Hello.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I sent the link again just now in chat. Are you able to look at it?
Uh, I'm trying to figure out where that would be. I'm new to all this.
I
I
just sent it.
actually don't see any comments from you.
Hold on, I'll send it
Username
right
BP
now.
Southern.
Yeah, I just sent it again.
It might be like filtering it or something. I don't, and I don't actually know how to look at filtered comments.
Oh, I don't
Oh,
know why
John
it was
Smith asked
filtered.
if
It's showing
I.
up for me.
Uh, John Smith, I just followed you. So BP Southern, I'm not sure how to look at those. I'm sorry. If it's like filtering the comments. Is there a way that you could like,
Do you see my
what is
comments
it?
at all?
Okay, I see you said hi. That's the first comment I've seen from you.
Okay, maybe it automatically filters out a link. Maybe that's why.
Maybe. So tell me
Okay.
what it was you were gonna share.
The sun and the clouds. If you're able to look, I don't think it's the first. You got to scroll down when you search. Um, if you just
Do you want to
search
just
this,
turn on your camera and show us that way?
I don't have enough followers.
Oh, it doesn't let you? Oh man.
No, you got to have 1,000.
I don't even have 1,000. I don't know how it's letting me. Anyway, let me ask you: is your footage of the sun in front of the clouds? Is the sun overexposed?
No, I don't think so. There's
Are the pixels white
are
on
the
the
pixels
surface of the
white?
sun? Yeah,
No, it's
on the
yellow.
surface of the sun.
It's orange, yellow, red. The colors of the sun.
Okay.
And
Well,
it's taken from a plane. I don't know. They're
I
definitely
mean,
high.
jury's
They're
still
above
out
the
then.
clouds.
It can be overexposed and still showing yellow pixels, but I'd have to see the footage, I guess. What's was it? Where was
Just,
it? Was it on
just,
Google or TikTok or what?
yeah, I saw it on TikTok. If you look up
Okay.
"sun in the clouds," it's the one from a from an airplane. It's clear. You can see. You can tell it's
What's
from an
what
airplane.
account on TikTok?
Oh, I'd have to get. Hold on. I don't know. I would have to get off here and look. I don't know how to. I don't know how to get off here while I'm on live and look.
So you just searched on TikTok "sun in clouds."
Yep. And you have to go down a little bit. It's not the first one that pops up, but
I
it's
see one saying, "Is this is our local sun sitting on the clouds?" Unlike NASA says, or
that
is
may
it?
be it.
There's one that's flat and the sun isn't local. Oh no, that's a
I don't
developer saying
remember
it.
what it said. Is there a little line, a little red line drawn to the sun to point at it in the
Oh,
thumbnail?
okay, I see that one. Yes, I think. Let here. Maybe you can point it out to me. Let me enhance effect. Wait, I'm doing this wrong. Stop it. I'm a boomer sometimes. All right. I'm trying to show you my screen basically. All right. So
Okay.
this one looks like it's from a plane. It has a red line. Is that the one you're
Yeah,
talking?
that's the one. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that sucker's right there in the clouds.
All right. So these are definitely overexposed pixels right here. Absolutely 100% overexposed. But that may not actually be like the full explanation of what's going on here, because something I immediately notice is, why is it that shape? You see that? That's like a wedge of a circle, or not a wedge, but like a slice of a circle.
Yeah.
That means
Well,
that's
it's
the horizon right here. I know it looks like the horizon is there, but oh, okay, so that's the cloud line, and this would be the actual horizon underneath the clouds, and it's shining through the clouds, right? Do you agree with that assessment?
no. That sucker's right there. Look at it.
Okay, well, slow down. Do you agree that it's setting right now? What else, if not, what's
Setting.
your explanation for why it's this shape? It looks like the circle has been chopped like more than in half.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it looks like it's half in the clouds, half sticking up out of the clouds.
Okay, well, I 100% disagree. That is 100% a setting sun shining through the clouds, and the pixels are overexposed. So I believe that's behind the clouds.
You
Um,
believe that's you believe that's behind the clouds that
yes,
is
100%. That is behind the clouds.
clearly the clouds go way back to the horizon, all the way to all the way back there, and you
Yeah,
think
and
that's
it's
the
shining
sun.
through because the clouds are translucent. You see this like faint glow of like the sky behind the clouds right here? This kind of faint red-orange line right here.
No, I mean maybe not on your camera, probably because I'm looking at your screen through a screen.
Well, I mean, the clouds are translucent. We know that often. You know, they're often translucent, only sometimes totally opaque. And
Well,
one thing that,
those clouds are pretty thick.
yeah, you can't see landforms, but the thing is that landforms don't shine with like millions of lumens. Okay, so the the sun is piercing the clouds because it's so razor bright. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, that's you look at the sun with, without protection, you will burn your eyes out. It's actually dangerous because the sun is so bright. Okay, and
yeah, I
this is
know.
one of the consequences. It pierces through translucent objects, even when the translucency is only like 1% or something that we can't normally perceive. When something that bright shines behind it, you will see that 1% translucence. I mean, think about it this way, just from pure math, okay? if you have a filter in front of something, like let's say you have here, let me do it this way. Let's say you have like a function of like y equals x times 0.001. Okay, make sense? So your input value, you take whatever input value and you multiply that by 0.001. That's going to make it way, way smaller, right? So like, let's pretend this is the input value is the background, like the whatever is behind the clouds, and this function is the filter of the clouds. Taking that input value of whatever's behind the clouds and reducing it by a factor of like 0.1%. So it's almost gone, and that's why you can't see it on the front side of the filter, okay? So if you put in a value here, like, let's say 10, maybe the landforms are a brightness of 10, okay? Times 0.001, what's that going to equal? Well, it's going to equal 0.01. Still almost imperceptible by, whatever fictional units we're using, I don't know. But if you put in an input value of like, what is that, 100,000 times 0.001, what is that going to equal? Well, 1, 2, 3, we chop off 3 zeros. It's going to equal 100.
But why are you
right?
going? Hold on, my phone. Why are you going to this equation? Why are you doing equations?
I'm trying to show you the math of like brightness, okay? Because there is math behind the optics that our eyes perceive.
Okay, hold on. When the sun's up in the sky, even middle of the day, noon, clouds cover it, and you don't see it.
Yeah, because that's when that happens. We're talking about clouds that have like a translucence filter of, let's say, 0.000000001 or something, because clouds are turbulent. Sometimes they're more opaque than others.
But look at the clouds in that photo or that
Yeah,
video.
so
Those
it's
are.
very easy for me to imagine that there is a like translucence level that totally obscures the landforms from our point of view, but where this massively bright input value of the sun's brightness still pierces through to a value that we can still perceive. Not just still perceive, but actually overexpose the pixels.
But those are the clouds that you would see that easily block out the sun. Right there in
No.
the photo.
No, you're just saying that. There's no reason to think that.
I mean, the photo is the reason to think that.
No,
That
it's
look,
not.
that's a sea of thick, fluffy clouds you're looking at.
You have no idea how thick they are. All
Look,
you know
just
is that you
look.
can't see the landforms underneath
Look
under
at
them.
look at the perspective right up against right closest to the plane. Look at
Those
those.
are different clouds. The sun
They're
isn't behind
all
those or
they
in
stretch.
front of
Look how
us.
far. No, they're not. Look how far they stretch out. You're only saying that because you won't let go of the possibility
Okay.
that
No,
sun
no, don't
that
you
couldn't
tell me
possibly be the
why
sun.
I am saying something or not saying something.
Well, it's
That's not
obvious
a
why you're
fair.
saying it.
All right. That's a dishonest. That's dishonest.
I'm
Okay.
not being dishonest at all. You're trying to explain away what you see with your eyes right here.
No, that's not what I'm doing. Okay, I made a clear argument, and you may disagree or dislike the argument, but you can't tell me what I'm thinking or why I'm saying what I'm saying. Okay, you can't do that.
Well, I mean, we're both looking at the same photo.
All right, there's another guest who's requested, and I think we've probably talked this to the point where it's,
All
not going
right,
to be
just
productive
yeah,
anymore.
you got to
Thank you for
just go with
sharing.
what
Thank you
your
for
eyes see,
joining.
man.
All right, see ya.
All right.
Can you think about that? Hey, what's happening, bro? You just taking one guess at a time? Is that your deal?
Yes, that's my
Okay.
goal. I mean, I think that's going to probably lend for better discussions.
Right, right. Probably for a better live. I mean, well, I don't know. I mean, I kind of like the multiple guest live, but whatever. But yeah, I guess
I'm
I
still
guess.
experimenting. I might try some
Okay.
other stuff out at some point, but
All right. So
so
you're a Globey, right?
yes.
Okay. All right, good, 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 good. I'm a flat earther.
Okay.
Pretty well known out here in the YouTube. I mean, TikTok streets, whatever.
Well,
But
welcome.
yeah,
Nice to meet you.
yeah, man.
Should I call you? Is that your username is Fat Mouth? Should I? Is that what I should call you?
Oh yeah, that's my name.
All right.
Well, my
Well, I'm
name, my
Peter.
name
Nice to
is
meet you.
right, right. I'm Johnny. I mean, formerly, but yeah, Fat Mouth. That's me. How long you
Okay.
been doing lives, man?
This is literally my first live where I'm allowed to invite guests. I've only done 3 before that. It's been like about a week.
Yeah, I haven't done no lives yet. I've been thinking about it. I've been in a lot of other people's lives, but yeah, man. Um,
So you say you believe the Earth is flat?
absolutely, yes, sir.
So how do you explain sunset?
Sunset. Well, I mean, like most flat earthers, I guess it goes away from me. I mean, I don't own a P900 or a P1000, but
Okay,
you
you don't
know,
need to.
there are some instances when you can zoom it back in. I mean, after the sun has gone down, not quite if it's gone plumb out of sight, but you can zoom it in like halfway. You can, show a full, from what I've seen. I mean, I gotta say,
Okay.
I gotta be honest with that, because I
I
don't
appreciate
own one.
you. You're you seem to have a humble tone, and I really appreciate that. Like it's a virtue sometimes to have that kind of like hesitancy in what you're saying or like how you're saying it. There are so many flat earthers I've met and globers too who just posture and strut and jeer, and I
Yeah,
appreciate that you have a different tone. I really do.
exactly. Some of them are total fucking assholes, man.
On both
I mean,
sides.
yes, sir. Exactly right. Um,
So, can I point out that in the time lapse I took, this is my personal work right here. I took this time lapse. The sun does not appreciably change size. I mean, somebody pointed out like, okay, where here it's still a little overexposed, it's a few pixels wider than over here. Okay, but um, there's two things about that. One is that still does not show that it's traveling away from us. And
but I
two,
did know. Well, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, two, I was just going to say it's the rate of descent is still constant, which again does not shows that it's not traveling away from us.
Well, it's interesting. Like the third or fourth picture you got up here, it does appear to be smaller, and
This one
some
right
of
here.
these, yes, sir, and some of these down here. I wonder if that's not on a drier day or, with less refraction. Um,
Okay, so what these are actually like what you're seeing here and stuff, this is because of the atmosphere and clouds and stuff. Like here,
yeah,
this here it just totally disappears. That's because clouds rolled past in front of it. And you can see them here on this side. This if I don't the I in my time lapse, I took the same time lapse using two different cameras. I have a video about it on my profile. The one on the left was totally unfiltered. The one on the right, I had a piece of welding glass in front of the camera. So the one on the left, you can see, the clouds rolling through and stuff. That's what this is, and also this,
yeah, that looks like an
because
honest depiction of what you saw. I mean, to
yeah,
me, I don't know. I
I
wasn't
appreciate
there,
that.
but
Well, I provided as much data as I possibly could to give it as much argumentative power as I could. You can find it on YouTube, and in the video description on YouTube, I give links to like an enormous amount of data, including the unedited, the raw, uncut like experiment footage from all four cameras that I had set up, and I had I'll call it an altitude measuring instrument because it's possible for TikTok to mishear me and flag my live. I hope you know which one I'm talking about. You know, sailors use it to navigate. It measures the altitude of something in angle, like degrees of angle.
A sec. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got
I had TikTok flag one of my videos for manual review because it included that word, and I was
you.
just
Right.
like, ah.
That's crazy.
Anyway, the other instrument I had was a compass, you know, just a plain old magnetic compass. And so I had four cameras, you know, the two that you see in this composite right here, and then like one showing the reading from the altitude measurement and the other showing the compass. And all four cameras I synchronized and you can find online. I have the raw uncut experiment footage. I also have a Google spreadsheet of like all the measurements throughout the 3 hour time lapse.
Cool deal.
Um,
Cool deal. I like this environment because usually I'm getting cut off a bunch right about that now. But let me ask you a question. What is your opinion on refraction? Because it, I, it's my opinion. I think I might have understood refraction wrong. I've been in this since 2015, bro. So I'm not, a
okay.
newbie. But refraction, to me, I mean, like I can demonstrate that on like my dinner table, and I can take like a magnifying glass and put an object at the end of and like, because you guys always claim refraction, especially during the days when we see further than we should,
Yeah,
right?
that's fair. Yeah.
But you can put an object at the end of the table and move a magnifying glass closer to your eye, and basically what it'll do is magnify that object, but it'll also magnify the horizon, which cuts
Yeah.
off the bottom of that object. So people claim refraction, or I mean, you guys claim refraction when we can see too far. When what I'm seeing is refraction would do damage to me seeing an object further because it magnifies the object and cuts off the bottom. Am I not understanding refraction correctly?
Well,
Uh,
you understand part of it, it seems, but there is more to it, and I think I can explain what you're asking if I understand your question. And I don't know if this like adds any background, but the first person I heard like the first flat earther I heard trying to mention like magnification as something like in this debate and like doing experiments sound similar to what you were just describing. The first person I saw do that was Rob Skiba. Um,
yeah, Rob's
and that's
dead.
when I
Rest
was
in peace.
researching in like 2019. Is that somebody you've seen?
Yeah, Rob's gone. He's dead. He died.
What?
Yeah,
Rob
Rob.
Skiba died?
Yeah, he died of COVID. Like I said, I've been in this since
Oh
2015,
my
and
gosh.
Rob died, and well, when the COVID thing hit,
Oh man.
yeah, he's gone. Sure enough, but
Wow.
but
Well, hopefully he's in a better place now. I know he was a Christian. Um, so anyway,
well,
wow, that's kind of
this kind
surprising
of
news.
leads it. This kind of leads into another question. All right, with now we see in the absence of refraction is when we tend to see things on clear days from high altitudes in the absence of refraction, in the absence of atmosphere and whatever, we tend to see further. I mean, there's some pictures we've seen online that are like 700 miles. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what we've seen. Whether, it is what it is, I don't know. But,
One
um,
second, I'm sorry. I see it's flat. You're asking to join. I'm gonna give Fat Mouth a few more minutes here. I'm gonna try to keep track, and then I'll bring you on. I try to keep things. I like to try to keep things one on one at least for now. So
hey, bring him up, bro. I mean, we can talk like, I mean, that's no problem at all. I'll shut up. I'll cut out. I won't interrupt. I'll be nice.
I
I promise.
appreciate that. For now, I'm gonna keep it one on one, and that's not because I don't trust that you're going to be respectful. I appreciate that. I really do. So let me try to answer your question though, Fat Mouth. Because I do believe there's an answer, and I'd go into some of this in one of my videos. Um, there's a video called Atmospheric Magnification, if you scroll back far enough on my profile, and I'm directly addressing what I saw from Rob Skiba. But basically, what it comes down to is something called homogeneity. So, um, let's say you pour a bowl of cereal and pour some milk onto it, right? At first, it might be heterogeneous, meaning things aren't mixed together evenly, right? There's like cereal clumped at the bottom and the milk is in a puddle on top. You know what I'm saying? Um,
You're
do you
right.
understand the concept of heterogeneous versus homogeneous?
Right. It's not consistent. The mixture is not consistent of atmosphere, and it's like a
Right.
soup. It really is.
Well,
The atmosphere is like a soup,
it
kind of.
hold on, slow down. Um, the atmosphere is roughly speaking horizontally homogeneous. So most of the turbulence, except unless you're talking about clouds, most of the turbulence is only vertical. Okay. And it's the same thing that you see in like, I mean, it's because of like electrostatic or not electrostatic, hydrostatic equilibrium, and like you see a similar thing with, like liquids, like the ocean, for example. And flat earthers always say, it finds its level, right? It's
Yeah.
a similar process that, you know, tends to force the turbulence in the atmosphere to spread out horizontally so that the heterogeny in it is only vertical, right?
Heterogeny. Can you explain that word, please?
Well, just the lack of mixture, the turbulence. It's
Okay.
it's
Gotcha.
so you're likely if you take a point in the
Okay.
atmosphere and you move in any horizontal direction, you're not likely to find sudden changes in turbulence in like um, density or pressure or temperature unless there's some weather thing that you hit. Sometimes in airplanes you hit turbulence, whatever, but like that is a much less pronounced phenomenon than if you take that same point in the atmosphere and you move up or down, right? If you move up or down, suddenly you get dramatic changes in density and pressure and temperature.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's
Well,
because everything kind of spreads out horizontally and mixes horizontally a lot more easily than it mixes vertically.
kind of like a river bottom. I get you.
Yeah, so what that does is that any like atmospheric refraction tends to also be horizontally homogeneous. And that means that the only way you're going to get um, an image that's actually magnified is if you look straight up and you're talking about the whole, like magnified by maybe 1 or 2% or something like that. You are not going to get an image of the sun near the horizon magnified. Like you're going to maybe see it like sometimes squashed a little vertically, but if you measure the width, it's going to be the same because again, horizontally homogeneous. Magnification specifically refers to an optical process where things are converged toward a point, which is by definition a heterogeneous operation. Light on one side is turned one way toward the point, light on the other side is turned the other way toward the point,
hey, big
right?
words, man, for the guy in the back of the class. I appreciate you though.
I'm sorry. It is it is a little complicated, but it is very demonstrable. Okay, it's like geometry and optics and math.
Hey, I like it. But let me ask you a question. Near the especially when we take pictures over water. I mean, they are. I mean, you have a denser. Uh, they call it the moisture line. I think what flat earthers are calling it. I mean, what I'm calling it. I think the moisture barrier. I believe are things more condensed. Is the atmosphere more condensed? Is it more magnified near the water?
So
When
one
it
thing that happens near water often is what I've heard called a temperature inversion, and that's a like a slightly abnormal condition. It happens a lot over water or over large flat areas. Anything where the sun has a lot of time to like bake, the surface of the earth and like heat that up, and then like, if conditions change in just the right way, it will cause this inversion where like
see
that
this kind of goes back to my question when I first come in here. Like the third picture over of that sun looks a little bit smaller,
right
and it
here.
looks like a sunset. It looks like a sunset because the color slightly changed. It was that taken on a dry day? I mean,
I mean, it wasn't raining. You could see
okay.
clouds though. Like it's a pretty normal day. This was like central Ohio in the summer. I think it was
Well,
May or maybe April. I don't remember.
these pictures
Um,
up here, they're big white suns, and they look like they were taken like midday. Are these taken at the same time? Is that what you're claiming?
this is simply a time lapse. So the sun was moving just straight from here to here, and this is like I took frames at equal intervals from the time lapse and overlaid them. So like this, I don't remember if it was exactly 10 frames or not, but it was like,
Okay.
let's say it is 10 frames. This is, this sun is 10 frames after this sun. And then this is 10 frames later, 10 frames later, 10 frames later. See,
Okay, so what is the time lapse there? What is that? What are you representing there?
total time was, a little over 3 hours.
3 hours. Okay, I got you. Oh, that's interesting. All right, so
So
you've
what you're
got
seeing here is just the sun is overexposed. Okay, so like that's why it's solid white here, and then like basically a cloud passed in front of it and brought that brightness down far enough that it was no longer like washing out the pixels into white, and you could see a little bit more of the true color. Here,
right.
down here, like the same thing is happening, but another thing is adding to it where the atmosphere is actually becoming thicker because it's lower on the horizon, and the thickness of the atmosphere is causing attenuation, which actually does turn the sun more orange and eventually
Okay.
red if it goes far
Again,
enough.
big words. Attenuation. Back up. Explain that, please.
So attenuation is when you have any type of scattering medium. If there's a substance that light is traveling through, any type of air or fog or gas or I don't know, even jello or something, like anything, any substance, if light is passing through it and that substance is not perfectly clear, um, the light will do a process called scattering, where the some of the rays sometimes randomly bounce, and some of them are a little bit absorbed, and only a little bit of it bounces, and so it causes this scattering process. So that's why the sky is blue, because the sunlight scatters on the atmosphere, and it scatters the blue wavelengths of light faster than the red wavelength. Now, that's
Okay.
also why sunset is red, because like when you're looking at sunset, you're looking at light that has passed through so much atmosphere that all the blue light has been scattered out of it, and what's left is the red light. That's called
Right.
attenuation.
That's what I'm seeing there. Is like they kind of resemble like midday sun and sunset sun or sunrise sun. That's what those colors are telling me. You know, to my natural senses. But anyway, bro, I'll let you bring somebody else up here. Good talking to you. Honestly, really, I'll come
Thank
back.
you. Did I
Um,
answer your question
yep.
about atmospheric refraction?
Well,
I
kind of not. But what what I think refraction is a magnification because I can demonstrate this on my kitchen table. I can
it's
put a
not
magnifying
comparable.
glass.
I'm sorry, it's not comparable
Okay, but if I'm wrong,
because
I'm wrong.
because
Um,
it's because your magnification, like your magnifier, is horizontally heterogeneous. It bends toward a focal point. That's not comparable to what the atmosphere does. So I mean,
well, what
yeah, you don't have to trust me. I'm I'm confident in what I'm saying. I understand that you may not be, but
Right.
that's
But
what I think the answer is.
what I see on my kitchen table, if I take a magnifying glass and magnify an object, it magnifies the object, but it also magnifies the horizon, and it cuts off the bottom of that object. And that's I can kind of relate to that with
I
refraction.
can
So
promise you that
refraction,
if the atmosphere were doing that, then sunset would look different to different people, like in different locations on the Earth. So just go watch my video called Atmospheric Magnification, and then you can form your own opinion after that. I mean, you can still form your own opinion, obviously, but I'm saying I encourage you, if you're interested, watch my video called Atmospheric Magnification. In there I demonstrate why it does not work. If the atmosphere, even if you imagine, if you imagine a world where the atmosphere does the same thing that you're doing on your kitchen table, it does not work because mankind would know multiple kinds of sunset if that were the case. So
okay, brother. But like I said, man, hey, you'll make a good flat earther one day. I'm just joking. I'm joking. No, I'm just
good
kidding,
one.
man. I'm just kidding. Hey, you bring up the next guy, man.
Thank you.
Take.
I would gladly have you on again if you want at any time.
Oh yes, sir. I'll come back.
Have a good
Take
evening.
care, bro. Take care, bro.
All right. We got Bad Brains in here.
Hey now,
How's it going?
good. The name is a punk rock band from the late '80s, early '90s.
Okay.
So, so let me start this off by letting you know and the Strokes. So I know that they don't want inebriated people on here. So if I slur or sound kind of funny, that's the reason.
Because you've had strokes.
So yeah,
Okay. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you. That really does help me to,
some
understand.
off my
Yeah.
yeah
Okay, so are you a flat
goodness.
earther?
So um I we haven't been to a height that would allow us to prove whether we're on a plane or a globe.
Okay. So are you undecided then?
Well, I'm leaning towards flat Earth because it measures flat.
Okay. I assume since you say we haven't been to a height where it would show, I assume that for example, sources from NASA or, SpaceX or any of those sources, right? Like you seem to believe there's a conspiracy to um like lie about the shape of the Earth, possibly.
$300 million a day
Yeah. Okay.
would make me lie.
Okay. Well, good to know. I it's
Probably
not often
less
you
than
hear
that.
somebody just volunteer their bribing price like that. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
I have it's a lot lower, but either way.
Okay. All right. Well, I have no intention of bribing you to lie anytime soon. Um, in fact, I think we could all use a little more candidness in general. Um,
don't tempt me.
So, um, you know, I'm at a fork in the road here, okay? We could go and talk about like this sunset time lapse that I took behind me, or we could talk about the balloon launch that my friend did, where we did actually measure Doppler. You know, any of the actual, scientific evidence that you can do on your own on like a budget of $100, or less than $100. So you really don't have to trust anyone. We could talk about that, or, and I'm kind of more inclined to talk about this. When you say that you are inclining toward flat Earth theory, or however you want to call that, um, that makes me suspect that you have a certain type of epistemology, and I can explain what I mean by that. But I've met a lot of people who, say, I'm not sure what to believe, but like I really find the evidence for flat Earth convincing, and I'll give some explanation to them for some question they have, and it won't satisfy them, and they'll still be inclined toward flat Earth theory, and it's like there's something going on here. There's something going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And
I'm 57 going on 58. Flat Earth entered my life at 50. So I had 40 some years of teaching or indoctrination that we're living on the spinning ball.
uh-huh. So,
It's
can I ask, and I promise I'm only asking this because it is relevant to the discussion. Can I ask if you are a Christian?
yes.
And okay, I am a Christian as well. Um, a Christian all my life. I've read the Bible many, many times, cover to cover. Um, I love the Bible. I love Jesus Christ. Um, all of that. So,
No, you don't. We would kill him if we had a chance. He loves us.
well, yes.
If we truly
I
love Jesus Christ, we would adhere to his teaching.
Yes, I should say, by God's grace, I love Jesus Christ. I was dead in my trespasses and sins,
And
but now I've been
not
washed and
sin.
sanctified, and
There you go. There you go, brother.
yes.
There you go, brother.
Did I pass the test?
Oh, no,
um,
I'm no judge.
so, what I want to what I want to do here is try to kind of there's something about your perspective that I want to affirm and validate. But at the same time, I want to kind of probe a little bit at something else in your perspective that I want to challenge. Does that sound fair?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So, um, have you ever heard of something called conflict thesis?
No.
Okay, I bet you anything that when I start to describe what it is, you have seen it everywhere, even though you didn't know that's what it was called. Okay? So what conflict thesis
Sounds good.
is the conflict thesis is the belief that science and religion are fundamentally opposed and can never ever reconcile. That there will always be hostility between the two, and that you can really only accept one or the other. Make sense?
Well,
Tell me you haven't
the
seen that
Bible,
everywhere.
community.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think your mic cut out for a minute there. What was it you said? I'm seeing like a.
Scientific community.
Yeah. Well, yes. So there's a lot of things going on here, right? So like I presume, for example, since you're a Christian flat earther, or at least you're a Christian who is leaning toward flat Earth theory, that you, for example, don't believe in Darwinism, right? You don't believe we were descended from monkeys, um, or like Big Bang Theory. You don't believe that the Earth, like the universe, was created from a gigantic cosmic explosion that just caused, all of these galaxies and star systems to just form naturally by unguided processes. Like all of that is nonsense to you, right? Because I would agree
Well,
with that. A
it's
lot of
not
that
that
is
it's
nonsense.
nonsense. It doesn't make scientific sense. It doesn't pass the scientific method.
Right.
So,
So what I want to suggest to you is that those things do not pass a true, honest scientific method, but the globe absolutely does. Absolutely 100%, no question does. And the reason I say that is because I promise you, it is as unarguable as 1 plus 1 equals 2, right? And I measured it myself. I'm not saying this because I'm trusting indoctrination or NASA or anything else. It's because I've personally measured it, okay? Now, you could believe in a flat Earth where the sun travels below the Earth, and I think that's what a lot of people have believed throughout history. That is scientific. If you don't necessarily have an ability to pick up a telephone and call someone in a different time zone after the sun has set from your point of view and ask them, "Hey, what time is it where you are? Is the sun still in your sky?" If you don't have that ability, then scientifically all you have is your own perspective and what you see, and when you see the sun travel below eye level, you might assume that it went underneath the flat Earth, right? That's what people believed for thousands of years, I think. And that is scientific. The idea that the sun does not go below eye level, even when it looks like it does, that idea is not scientific. And it's so easy to disprove that I say it's as unarguable as 1 plus 1 equals 2. And that's why I make a very sharp distinction between things like Darwinism, where atheists are infiltrating science and changing definitions and overstepping their bounds and trying to bully Christians and try to, bury the Bible and say this is, ancient history now. That is going on with Darwinism and Big Bang Theory, but not the globe. You can verify that God made the world as a sphere in your own backyard with less than $100. I promise you. So that's
well,
where I
your
was
word
gonna.
is not.
Okay, you don't have to trust me. I mean, I would encourage you. If you don't understand my arguments, you could watch some of my videos, or I could
It's
explain it
not
some of it to you
that
now. Or
I don't understand your arguments. Other options of weren't taking.
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite understand. You said it's not that you don't understand my arguments. It's that. What was that last part?
No, there are other options that you aren't considering.
Okay, like what?
The sun doesn't necessarily have to underneath the earth. It could travel on a circuit.
Okay, but what I'm telling you is that we are measuring it go underneath our eye level. And it does not get any
Yeah,
farther away or closer unless as it get the thing is as soon as you try to pose any kind of model that disagrees with the globe, things get complicated because the sun is the same angular size and travels with the same angular velocity through the sky for all observers on the entire face of the earth. Okay, and that's demonstrable. You know, you can, if you have the right equipment and the right technique, you can measure the angular size of the sun, and it's going to be half of 1 degree every time, period, no matter where you are on the earth. So, like if the sun is traveling in relation to us, how is that how is it going to stay at 1/2 of 1 degree for everyone? Like that doesn't make sense, right? Does that make sense to you?
that's
If
for
it
you to
travels,
explain. But
well, it's my explanation is that the Earth is a globe.
sun, if we see a setting sun and apply some magnification, bring the sun in closer, we'll see a gap develop underneath the sun and it's sitting.
Okay, well, um, I don't think that's correct. I mean, I guess in order to progress the conversation at this point, you would have to provide some kind of evidence, and then we'd have to look at that evidence. But I don't know. I'm seeing.
It's
Oh, I'm. Hey, Fat Mouth. He's not hammered. He explained this when he came on. He's had strokes. He's not hammered. So that. Um, yeah. So I was getting some comments that maybe I should bring bring on another flat earther. Do you mind if we um, call it quits there? I mean, it seemed like we were kind of getting to a point where maybe it would become unproductive. Do you agree?
it's your show, but it measures flat, and you
All right.
cannot achieve an elevation angle on a globe.
See, you're already using flat earther rhetoric. So you say you're a little undecided, but I think somewhere deep down you're decided.
But I've tried it. I've tried it.
Well,
So
anyway, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it, and I would gladly have you on again if you ever want to come back. We could, especially like if, for
thanks,
example,
buddy.
yeah. Well, thank you. Have a good night. All right. So, anybody else want to join and discuss? If you have any questions, how we know the Earth is a globe, or if you want, have chill, friendly debate about it or anything. All right, I gotta guess requesting. Oh boy, I cannot pronounce that. I'll let him tell us how to pronounce it. Welcome.
Hello. So I will say you had no other guest, and I know you're trying to talk to flat earthers, but no, I am not a flat earther.
Okay,
So,
fair enough.
yep. So one question that I have still asked and asked, because don't get me wrong, I am someone that could very well believe that organizations are lying to us, that the
Sure.
government isn't really true, that it's just about power. I can really understand all of that. And
Mm-hmm.
even if we want to go into the arguments of everything is fake, I can even entertain those discussions with people, all the evidence. But what I still cannot have anyone explain to me with a coherent, any coherent explanation is the moon. Because it was probably about 8, 10 years ago when I first heard the flat earth theory, and I thought about it. I'm like, after thinking about it, while I couldn't comprehend the moon with the flat earth, not only are the phases, because um, I don't know how you would get the phases without, as you know, the moon moving around the Earth and us seeing it at the different angles.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have the issue of I've seen someone try to put a inverse sphere and dunk it in water, but the only issue is that only looks right for half of the phases. Like, even as bizarre as that whole theory is, it only works to half the phases, because I'm sure you know that most flat earthers seem to think that we have a solid dome around us, right?
Yeah, yeah, they call it the
Yeah.
firmament.
Yeah, well, and the other thing that I have personally seen that I cannot figure out how would possibly work on a flat earth is a full lunar eclipse. Because
Yeah,
I
actually, if you read like, I think it's Aristotle, that was one of the first indications that like he cited, that led him to believe the Earth was a sphere.
Yep, because
Was
I've seen it. I don't people are like, "Oh, it's going through a red haze." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." But I've seen a full lunar eclipse. It doesn't just immediately go red. It goes from a full moon to completely disappearing, then slowly coming into this red zone, completely disappearing again, then
right.
completely appearing again full.
So, forgive me, are these things that you're saying, no one has given you an explanation for how they work on a flat Earth or on
Right.
a globe?
On a flat Earth, because they obviously work very well on a globe.
Oh,
But
okay. Yeah.
no one has ever been able to actually explain with a coherent discussion how the moon works on a flat Earth for me.
Oh, well, that's very, very far from the only thing that no one has ever been able to explain on a flat
No.
Earth for me.
Oh, absolutely. No, there are plenty. But that is like the simplest one I try to explain to people. And I know people might take this offensively. There is just a complete cognitive dissonance.
I agree. And the terrible irony to that is that they use the word cognitive dissonance a lot more than we do. It's like I'm pretty sure they're actually projecting onto us. And the thing is, because they start that rhetoric, we can't point it out because then it makes it look like they're right, that and then that we're the ones projecting or whatever.
Yep.
So it's just like there's this awkward elephant in the room most of the time where
Yep. Well,
there is this massive amount of cognitive bias and cognitive dissonance coming from the flat earthers,
yep.
but they're
Well,
the ones saying that we have cognitive bias and cognitive dissonance.
and like
So
I've seen people like give evidence for like have you seen how they come up with the theory of how the sun shines over exactly half of the earth at a time? They like take
is that
this half globe sphere and put a flashlight on the side of it, and then it lights up half of the circle at a time. But the issue is, if
yeah,
that was the case, the sun would always be on the setting location around us.
yeah. I saw that recently. Hey, I have what might be a flat earther requesting to join. Do you mind
Okay.
if I
Oh, go ahead.
say goodnight to you? And
Yep, go ahead.
all right. Thank you so much. Have a good
Bye.
evening.
All right, bye.
All right. I have seen Robert request twice, so I'm gonna accept his request.
Hey, did I make it in?
I think so.
All right,
How
for
you
sure.
doing?
Pretty good. How are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Oh, pretty good.
I sort of assumed from your profile picture that you might be a flat earther, but rather than assume, let me ask.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that term, but I'll accept it.
What term would you prefer?
Earth.
Well, I guess I meant like, what term would you prefer for your point of view on the shape of the Earth?
Earth. I don't think any of us need to put labels in front of Earth. I don't think it's necessary.
So you're a believer in Earth?
Yep.
That's the problem is like that doesn't dis we're all believers in Earth. We just disagree about what shape it is, right?
Yeah, there's opposition in the belief on what we're walking around on.
So what is your belief about the shape of the Earth?
The first point I'd stick to would be stationary. The Earth I'm walking
Okay.
around on is not moving.
All right. I guess we could talk about that if we can't find disagreement on anything else. Because, I do believe the Earth is going around the sun, but I will say that most people in the Middle Ages believed that the Earth was the center of the universe, but they also believed the Earth was a sphere. And to me, that is a perfectly valid scientific position. Um,
Yeah,
so,
wasn't that back in what, the 1500s?
a long time before that too.
Was
Um,
it?
and basically until the Copernican revolution, ever since. I mean, the idea that the Earth was a globe started in like 600 BC. So
Oh,
that's
wait, hold on,
pre-Roman.
hold on, hold on. Where'd that come from?
Um, like Pythagoras and Eratosthenes and Aristotle and Plato, like all of those guys, they wrote and taught that the Earth was a sphere.
I'm gonna grab my pen real quick.
I might be wrong about Plato. I don't remember off the top of my head for sure about Plato, but I'm pretty sure Aristotle, Pythagoras, and Eratosthenes or Aristosthenes. He's got so many syllables in his name. I forget. Um,
Yeah, Aristos, or yeah, that A guy. He did the well observations.
yeah. So all of those people wrote and taught that the Earth was a sphere. Um, Flat earthers are fond of pointing out that this was a premise assumption that Eratosthenes had in his experiment, and that his experiment did not necessarily prove that the Earth was a sphere. Um, but
Well,
I think
my
we can
biggest
agree
problem
that
with
he
him
believed
was,
the Earth was a sphere, right?
you know what they claimed how the distance of the sun was at that point, don't you?
Uh, well, I mean, I assume they were wrong about it because that would be very difficult to measure with like instruments
Yeah,
that they had
it's
in.
changed quite a bit since his
Yeah,
predictions.
the main thing he was trying to measure there was the circumference of the Earth, not the distance to the sun. But anyway, my point was that like, uh, the idea of a globe was around from pre-Roman times. It persisted all through the Roman Empire, and by the time you get to the Middle Ages, where first, second century, well, I don't remember off the top of my head. This is going to sound awful. I don't remember off the top of my head when the Roman Empire fell, but as soon as the Roman Empire fell and you got the Byzantine Empire, like all of that stuff, they all believed the Earth was a sphere, a globe. But they
Well,
believed it was at the center of the universe.
I'll argue the Copernican theory was that was 15th century, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so, but that was heliocentrism, not globe stuff. They all agreed the Earth was a globe. The argument was over whether. Oh my goodness! I just got Caleb in my life. Welcome. He blocked me earlier, like last year.
Yeah, Caleb's
Um,
got some. He's probably got better history on this than I do.
well, I'm not going to invite him on here until slash unless he apologizes for some things he said to certain Jews, from what I hear. So anyway, the
Yeah, I'll hold him against it if you didn't hear it come out of his mouth yourself.
well, I've seen stuff come out of his Twitter account that he should apologize for. Let me put it that way. Anyway, no, I'm not scared of Caleb. I beat Caleb. Just watch just watch the recording of it. Um, so the Copernican revolution was not about the shape of the Earth. It was about heliocentrism. The argument there was like because they believed, like the religious authorities believed that the Earth was the center of the universe. And Copernicus and Galileo, they were saying, that the Earth moves around the sun. And that's what the whole argument was about. It wasn't about what shape the Earth was.
Yeah, like this is new, different history than I've argued before.
Well, you can look it up on Wikipedia or in your local library. It's very well
What
documented.
the names that you referenced? Can you repeat those again?
Copernicus and Galileo.
Okay, Copernicus. That was Copernican principle, right?
Probably.
Well, that was
There was
just
also
15th century.
there was also Johann Kepler, I think, was another one in that time period. I don't know the history in a lot of detail. Like I couldn't
Well,
tell you necessarily, exactly what years each of those men lived and died or
well, it seems
when.
like the history that I've come across simply on Google shows that a lot of cultures believed that the Earth was it was a flat Earth
Oh
with
yeah,
a
I'm sure they
firmament over
did.
top.
But I'll tell you one thing, not a single one of them believed that the sun never goes below eye level 24/7, 365. That is
No, they thought that.
completely ridiculous non-scientific claim that came from Samuel Robotham in 1849, and not a soul besides him ever claimed that,
that
like
the
in a
sun
serious,
goes
persistent way.
that the sun goes below us.
Yeah, flat Earth
Is that what you
cosmology
said?
is before
Oh
Samuel
yeah, that's not
Robotham.
no. I don't know
What?
where you come across that. I don't believe the sun goes below us.
Well, that's a more
Never.
scientific claim than Robothamism. Look,
Okay.
look, it's right here. The sun goes below eye level. Robert, it does. I promise you. And
Goes
and
below eye
either that
level.
means either the sun goes underneath
Okay,
the
this
flat
picture,
Earth.
yeah. This picture, where I know absolutely nothing about this observation that you made here.
All right, well, I have a video about it. This is a time lapse I personally took.
What
It lasts
direction
about
are you
3 hours
looking?
of sunset.
What
What?
direction are you looking?
West. This is 3 hours of sunset right here, and it's a little cut off at the bottom in the video. On my profile, it's a little more clear, but like it goes pretty much to the horizon. And I also was measuring using an instrument that showed, the exact altitude in the sky. Um, so it
Wait,
goes
that
below eye
doesn't look
level.
like you're pointing west. That looks like you're north or south. Yeah, it looks
It's
like
west.
you're north above it.
It's west. I assure you.
Well, wouldn't the sun be moving away from you, not
The sun
sideways?
never moves away from us. It never moves away from us.
I see the sun move away from me every day.
That's because you are seeing it get dimmer. You think you're seeing it move away, but it's not. It's getting dimmer.
No, I see it moving away.
Okay, do you measure with an instrument where you can actually measure the edge of the solar disk
My
instead of
eyeballs?
measuring what?
My eyeballs?
Okay, that's not good enough. Not even close. Not anywhere
Says
close to good
you.
enough.
Says you. That's your
Says
belief.
science. Look. Look, what do you think this shows? This is the same sunset time
That's
lapse
supposed to
from
be
two
a
different
sun
cameras.
moving away, right? A sun
This,
moving away.
you think this shows the sun move away?
Like, I don't think you're looking west with the sun moving like that across the screen.
I
Like,
promise you I was looking west. Okay, you can look up my video. I'm literally showing a compass in the video. It's
you,
west.
you got the video pinned.
I don't remember if it's pinned. It might be.
It's on your account here.
View profile. No, I don't have it pinned.
Okay, how far back?
It's, let's see. Okay, so if you see, here, let me just show you on my screen. This is flip camera effects. Okay, so this is obviously a desktop browser. It's going to look a little different, but if you're scrolling through and you see this bright one, this is actually an altitude map of the location where I took the live the time lapse, and it's showing like exactly what direction my camera was pointing on the geographical area. If you scroll past that, you'll see this like gray one that's showing a picture from Blender image projection. Just a couple before that, sunset experiment. That's the one.
Yeah, you in the States?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, so the time lapse, I promise you, was showing sunset facing west.
But yeah, I see the sun move like that around me during the summer.
But if you don't measure the solar disk with actual measurement equipment, then you're just going to get a false
I'm
impression.
referencing the path of it. I'm not
Oh,
no
okay.
sizes or anything, just the path of it.
Well, see, the thing is, it does follow an arc through the sky. It's a circular arc because what we see from when we see from a single point in space, roughly speaking, there is the world around us is on basically what astronomers call a celestial sphere. So the sun's path through the sky is a circle on the celestial sphere, half of which is below eye level. Oh my goodness, we got Gene Techman requesting. Do you kind of get what I'm saying? It's
No, I don't. No, I'm all good.
so do you mind if I invite
You're
somebody else
good.
on? And
I'm
all
sure
right,
you guys
well,
got a little better history than I got.
all right, well, thank you very much for joining. I appreciate it. I would gladly have you again sometime if you want.
Yep, I'll give you a
Have a good night.
follow. I tried to go find that video.
All right.
That you ordered it.
Welcome.
Sorry. Hey, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. How's it going?
Um, so I feel like I might have heard of you. Are you a flat earther?
Yeah, I believe the Earth is a level topographical plane.
All right.
In contrast with you, you believe it's a globe, I may assume.
Yes.
Okay. What brings you to believe that we're on a spinning globe?
Well, sunset for one.
The sunset.
Yep. It
Oh,
goes below eye level.
okay. Are you familiar with the opposing model, the flat Earth model?
I'm familiar with Samuel Rowbotham's model, where it's like a local sun that never travels below eye level. To me, that is a like radically anti-scientific model.
But
Every
actually, I'm sorry.
ancient flat Earth.
Before you get started, what's Robotham's model?
The sun never travels below eye level 24/7, 365.
Is that how did he define that?
To my knowledge, Samuel Robotham, yes, was the first person in history to make a serious, persistent, documented claim that the sun, went in circles above us,
Hmm.
traveling along the ground horizontally.
Where did you get that from, if you don't mind me asking?
Why don't you educate me what Samuel Robotham claimed if I'm so
I'm
wrong about it?
no, respectfully, I'm just wondering where Samuel Robotham is your pinnacle point. He's not mine, so I'm just wondering why he's yours. So I'm just curious where you got your information from because I don't know
Various
much about
sources.
Robotham
A
actually.
lot of a lot of my information did come from Wikipedia,
Hmm.
because a lot of like the history
Hmm.
surrounding the life of Samuel Robotham
Hmm.
was not necessarily like a source of big controversy,
Hmm.
um, at least until now, like in this conversation, like and
Because I guess with my studies, I understand that all cultures believe that the Earth were flat. The Egyptians, the Sumerians, the
okay, I'm not
Babylonians.
talking about
Mhm.
simply the Earth being flat. Okay, I'm
Okay.
talking about the sun never going below eye level. That
And that's
is
what I was asking you specifically. Like, what about Robotham are you connected to? So I'm starting to understand now. You're saying directly that he said that the sun never goes below eye level.
Yes, because if you claim
Hmm.
that the sun goes below a
Hmm.
flat Earth,
Hmm.
that can be a scientific claim.
Yeah,
And
no,
I
we don't.
believe all
Yeah,
ancient
no.
flat Earth models believed that.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, no one that's a flat earther subscribes to that. That's interesting that you say that
But
because no
that
one
would be more
subscribes.
what modern flat earthers say,
Well,
because
what's your
modern flat
postulation
earthers,
that we were proposing?
what?
Hmm.
What'd you say?
I guess I'm trying to understand. What are you proposing that flat earthers say? I think you were in the middle of saying it. It got a little choppy. Forgive me.
Well, um, modern flat earthers all seem to claim, and maybe there's outliers, and I'm certainly willing to, uh, you know, ask or learn or whatever if there are exceptions to this rule. But the rule, as I've seen, is that modern flat earthers all get their cosmology from Samuel Robotham because they all believe that the sun never travels below eye level.
The only person I've heard refer to Samuel Robotham when it comes to flat Earth as 8 inches per mile squared, blah 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 blah, has been Professor Dave, and that's it.
Okay, I don't care about like formal, explicit, like heritage of their ideas. I'm talking about informally, right? Like it's all traceable back to Samuel Robotham.
Flat Earth.
No,
He was a
the
mhm, the sun.
the idea that the sun never goes below eye level, specifically.
Sun never goes below eye level.
Is that what you believe?
I mean, I believe things converge into the horizon.
Okay,
So,
then that sounds Robothamist to me.
and so prospectively, I mean, I guess allow me to contrast with you, openly. My perspective of what I have now, like, and don't get me wrong, I was a glow believer a year and a half ago until I started looking into this thing. But the perspective
Okay,
I have now is that the sun isn't 94 million miles away. It's local
okay,
and it's a lot smaller. So that being
okay,
said, I guess just metaphorically as a model, I think of a street light being above me or a helicopter for that matter, right? It can shine down on me, but then as it
okay.
travels away, that light also travels with it. And then eventually, because of the dense opacity of the sky, eventually I'm not going to see that light, just like a flashlight.
Yeah, and do you know the math behind how that should look?
Do I know the math behind it?
Yeah, it should follow an
Um,
arctangent function. The
yeah,
the
yeah, of
altitude in
course. There's
the
convergence, right? There's a tangent function. Yeah, I'm not arguing with that. And
really
there's also atmospheric opacity that causes obstruction to light with
you
distance
grant that if you travel away horizontally from a light above you, then in your view it should decline
and
in
disappear.
altitude
Yeah.
according to an arctangent function. You grant that?
Um, Mm, maybe not directly, and I guess in response to what we're talking about,
You're kind of at a precipice here. I want to be totally transparent.
I'm trying to understand what you're saying, without pausing the conversation to have to look it up. To be
Sure.
honest with you, right? Just
It's
being honest.
important. So
Yeah.
I'm not, and I'm not trying to do a gotcha. I'm not
No,
trying to
no.
make you look foolish.
Yeah, yeah.
So I will walk through it with you if it would help. Okay. Um,
To let me understand what you're explaining, sure. Let's keep it.
yeah,
Keep it.
and there's no shame in not understanding this, right? Like a lot of people breeze
No,
through
no. I'm a
geometry.
very humble person, and I learn the most by being honest and saying I'm not. After this conversation, forever and always, I have this information with me to take, and I know it from
Yeah.
that point. Yeah.
And like I was saying, there is never any shame in not understanding something or not knowing something. Like, we're born not knowing anything.
Correct.
And a lot of people breeze through geometry in high school and don't have as much fun with it as I did. So, you know, let's just look at this. Give me a sec here.
Sure.
All right. So here's a diagram I made, and it shows. And there's a lot of little details here if you care to look, but like
Yeah.
the main point here is to show, let's say this is the sun, and we've got three different scenarios, right? This little stick figure is seeing the sun, and all he knows is the inner angle of this right triangle, right? At his eye. He does
Right.
not know any other dimension of the triangle, but he
Okay.
knows that inner angle.
Uh-huh.
And so that makes three possible scenarios at least,
Right.
represented by red, green, and blue here.
And those
Like
those
the
are
sun
like
could,
ideally if they're scaled, a small and then bigger. Is that what we're looking at distance wise, size and distance?
yeah. So like,
Okay.
and the three scenarios are like basically spelled out here. It's not to scale necessarily, but
Sure. It's just a model,
if
right?
you measure a particular angular size of the
Mhm.
sun,
Yeah.
for all you know, like let's say that angle is 0.27 degrees.
Yeah.
From the middle of the solar disk to the edge of the solar disk,
Uh-huh.
because that helps us make a right triangle if we cut it in half.
Right.
So for all you know, given that angle, it could be like 17 feet in diameter, or not. Wait, no, it could be. I got the variables mixed up. It could be 17 feet away and 1 inch in
Okay.
radius. Sorry,
I see what
radius.
you have going on now, right? And
Or
then
it
the
could
next
be,
one bigger and
1
then
million feet
farther.
away and 1 mile in radius. Yeah, you see what? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah. Mhm.
it's constrained to a constant ratio. So like only if you take one value for the distance and you know the angular size, that automatically means there is only one value for the radius that can be true, right? It's constrained to a ratio by your angular measurement.
And so you're postulating that if the sun were local, that we should see a different something?
Well, I'll get to that. Well,
Okay.
these are baby steps, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
So just like basically this is to show that
Mhm.
the angular size we measure
Right.
constrains it to one constant ratio. Excuse me.
Based on
So-
size and distance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Specifically the angular size divided by 2, it like when you solve for it, if it's like an arctangent, or yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself again. Sorry.
That's okay.
So-
Yeah, I mean, and I get what everything you presented in that diagram.
Good.
Yeah.
So this is the next diagram, and this shows the sun, where this time, instead of constraining the angular size in our three different scenarios, this time in our three different scenarios, red, green, and blue, we are constraining the radius.
Okay.
So the sun here is the same radius in all three scenarios, but this time, the only thing that's different is our d value, the distance, is
Right.
increasing.
Okay.
Right? Now,
Right.
the principle is still true that your angular size theta gives you the ratio, radius to distance.
Mhm.
And that ratio is defined by this equation. The tangent of your angle equals the radius divided by the distance.
Okay.
And the tangent is is a trigonometric function. You can find it on most calculators,
Oh yeah, I'm
or at
familiar.
least, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you
So
take
I
this
guess I
right triangle,
go ahead.
if you take this right triangle and you just increase d,
Mhm.
this leg of the triangle, the distance, as we've done here, progressing through the scenarios, red to green to blue,
Mhm.
it will do a very specific thing to theta, the
Okay.
angle measured by the stick figure.
Mhm.
When we solve for that variable, what we get is arctangent of radius over distance.
Okay.
So if the only thing that's happening to the sun
Mhm.
here in this diagram is d is increasing,
Mhm.
this is a plottable function, and you don't even need to know what the starting values for r and d are. You can still plot the function.
Okay.
You can still know exactly what the behavior of theta should be if you have a measurement for theta and you have this assumption that the sun is traveling away from you.
Okay. So what's your conclusion to this presentation?
The conclusion is that the angular size of the sun, if it's traveling away from us,
Mhm.
should decrease according to an arctangent function. And that arctangent function is very, very nonlinear. Okay, it slopes like very dramatically. I don't have a picture of it here on.
I
Actually,
understand what you're saying. Yeah. I'm trying to connect the dots with what you're presenting to your postulation with the shape of the earth. Because in my world of having this conversation of the shape of the earth, looking at the sky doesn't substantiate the shape of the earth. Like, we could look at the sun, we could look at the moon, we could look at the stars, but in my world, the conversation is if the earth curves, how much does it curve?
Well, right. So that's why. Sorry, I'm going to change my camera back here. That's why I was saying that it is, in fact, a scientific position to claim that the sun travels beneath a flat Earth. Right? Because, yes, looking at the sky does not directly tell you the shape of the Earth.
Yeah.
So instead, what it does is it pushes you into a dilemma of either choosing between the sun traveling beneath a flat Earth, totally against the cosmology of Samuel Rowbotham,
Yeah, we don't.
or
I can't think of
believe the
that.
globe.
I can't even think of that physicality of it traveling underneath because we see its movement arc as it's going around the North Pole. It moves in a circular motion around the North Pole, and ultimately, we
It moves
see
in a
it
circular motion around celestial north.
Either one,
Not,
same thing, right? The North
they
Pole,
are
Polaris.
not quite the same thing.
I mean, give or take, what are we talking about here? You know what I mean? Like Polaris, it's the pole star to the North Pole.
So the Earth is underneath us, obviously.
Sure, and
the sky is above us, and
aren't they relative though?
What do you mean by relative?
I mean, isn't our North Pole the physical, I'd say geographic North Pole? Isn't it, we debate it all the time, but isn't it aligned, give or take, with Polaris? That's why it's called Polaris, because it's supposed to be our pole star.
So if you go to the North Pole and you look straight up
over the equator.
If you go to the North Pole on the globe and you look straight up, you will see Polaris at the zenith of your sky. But if you go to the equator, then Polaris is going to be near your horizon.
Correct. Right.
If you go
and that's on either
south
model.
Of the equator, if you go south of the equator, Polaris is not going to be visible. Actually,
there's a problem with that. Neil
I know many flat earthers claim Polaris is visible from Australia.
No. You're putting words in my mouth. I was actually going to
Sorry.
say Neil deGrasse Tyson. He was brought in for damage control. Why? Because we can actually see Polaris below the equator. So
Well,
he ended up
by
saying
how
that Earth
much? I
is
mean, are we
to
talking
my
about?
knowledge, it's been seen 20 degrees south. And Neil deGrasse Tyson said the Earth is pear shaped, a little chubbier at the bottom, and that
Yeah,
was
I
his
saw
damage
that clip.
control.
I saw that clip.
Yeah. So he said that because it's now understood consumer technology, is advancing, but we can see Polaris from below the equator.
Well,
So he said it's
um,
pear shaped, which when he made that statement, just in the world of science, that creates a huge hiccup with all the spherical pictures that we've seen. And
no, it,
then
it really doesn't because it's like 0.1% or something. It's
well, 20% below the equator is not 0.1%. That's actually pretty substantial.
I was referring to the pear-shapedness.
Yeah. Well, his claim of pear shaped is because directly we can see Polaris from below the equator.
Okay,
Another,
but that's probably due to atmospheric refraction. Like
I
just
mean,
like
that's atmospheric refraction gets slathered all over everything to, make a globe Earth give the representation of a flat Earth. A thing that I guess my aha moment was when I started looking into radar. I went as far as started taking ham radio classes, and then I realized that radar can't work on a globe. Imagine two naval ships on the ocean. And now, what's the distance that a radar can see something in the distance, right? And radar's line of sight. It's electromagnetic radiation that's bouncing off of an object. It returns to the transmitter, or I guess where the transmission came from to the receiver. And then we take that data and we're able to say, hey, there's something in this direction, right? Now, electromagnetic radiation travels in straight lines, doesn't curve,
unless it refracts.
and it propagates, travels in straight lines, and it propagates. And of course, if it refracts or reflects. Now, when it refracts, refraction causes distortion with electromagnetic radiation. So, no matter what, there's going to be an issue. We're not going to collect the same data in return. So radar actually needs
I
line of
don't know if I
sight.
would grant that.
Yeah, this is a matter of fact. You can look it up if you need to, but radar requires line of sight to work. So if we have two naval ships that, let us say, are 100 miles away, right? I would be, sending a signal out. It would have to travel 100 miles first and foremost, but then it would have to travel down because from the area that I'm standing, of course, every movement I make, I'm stepping down away from where I was originally placed. So it's going to be traveling down, and then it's going to be bouncing off of an object. But then that bounce, as you just mentioned, would have to reflect, and that would be reflecting into quote unquote space. But what we're saying radar is doing is it's bouncing, and now it's curving back in the same parabolic arc that it transmitted from to the receiver. And that just doesn't work on a ball. We need line of sight in order to do that,
Okay,
right?
well, I mean, I feel like you're breezing past an enormous number of complexities here, and I
I'm not. I don't want to displace any of them, but let's be very simple about how radar works. Radar is electromagnetic radiation that is bouncing off of another object and then being received again. Simple,
do
right?
you realize visible light is also electromagnetic radiation?
I
Did
know
you
that
did you know that?
absolutely. Yeah, and there's several
So
things that are
when
outside of our
light
scope.
refracts,
Right.
you said electromagnetic radiation,
Correct.
it causes distortion if it's refracting
Correct.
every time.
Correct.
Okay, I mean, yeah, if you're defining the refraction as the distortion, but if you mean like it's gonna blur every time, for example, that's not necessarily true. Like,
100%. If there's obstruction with radar, it's you're not going to get and collect all the data.
well, right,
Even
if there's
even
obstruction, but
rain.
we were talking about refraction,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's refraction.
Refraction can sometimes happen without any perceivable distortion.
Okay, how do you define refraction?
Uh,
We
well,
we might
that's the ray of light or the wave front bending through a change in medium.
okay. You're familiar with Snell's law?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not trying to I got you moment. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. How would you define Snell's law?
I actually do in one of my videos. Basically, if there is a surface between media, it refracts so that it's shallower on the thin side and steeper on the dense side,
Okay.
according like in relation to the surface normal.
Okay. I recognize refraction, or I'm sorry, Snell's law, just very simple in the definition that I have stored in my big brain. Um, is that when electromagnetic radiation passes between one isotropic medium through another isotropic medium, it bends down toward the denser medium. And so,
So what do you
again,
mean by isotropic?
I mean there's a different medium. So from air to water, right? If I were to ice fish or
But
wear
what's
glasses,
isotropic about that?
what's isotropic about it?
Yeah.
If I'm mistaken, I could be, but to my understanding, isotropic medium is the difference between air to water to gas. If I'm not
So
mistaken,
isotropic means
yeah,
the same in all directions.
that's what
And
it. Okay,
the reason I ask is because it seemed strange to me that you would apply the word there because Snell's law applies even when it's not isotropic. So like, for example,
hmm
if there's fog, sunlight sometimes shimmers through fog,
hmm
and that's anisotropic,
okay,
meaning it does not look the same in all directions.
hmm
So, Snell's law is still going to apply there.
okay. And I would love to take a little deeper look into that. And again, respectfully, I'm not challenging you and saying you're wrong. Just respectfully, my position is when electromagnetic radiation travels between one isotropic medium through a different isotropic medium, then it bends down toward the denser medium. That's my understanding of the definition. And so
It
to
can come from either side, though, of course, which means the definition you gave only applies to like, I don't know, a quarter of scenarios.
okay.
Um,
So does that apply to the scenario of radar?
I mean, it applies if you define it more generally. I don't want to nitpick. I'm
Sure,
just
sure,
trying
sure,
to
sure. We're
say,
being
like,
respectful.
basically, you were applying qualifiers that just didn't need to be applied, right? So it doesn't have to be isotropic, and it doesn't
Okay.
have to come from the thin side. It can come from either side, and actually,
And respectfully,
optics.
I'm coming to a conclusion with you. You're right. If I were to look at you over a bonfire, there's a bonfire in between us, that we would have refraction from the heat, right? That'd be a little different
Yeah,
than the refraction from your eyeglasses, correct?
yeah.
Right, right. Okay. But again, then I'm still back to radar. Radar can't work on a globe because it needs line of sight, and we can't say that we're dependent on it bending and curving because of refraction, because that would be a variable that changes on the regular basis. And if military were to try to apply that to a war, we would be in trouble on a cloudy day. You know what I mean? If the heat
Well,
index were so
radar
high.
penetrates clouds. Not everything.
Mm, actually, radar is actually distorted with rain. That can cause an issue. Why? Because that's a physical item that's getting in the way. Radar
Yeah,
can be obstructed by even rain. So
yeah.
radar needs line of sight to work, and a bulge of water in between it isn't how radar works. So I understand what we have all subscribed to, but we have to think with logic and reason outside of what we've been told for this particular model of radar, right? Radar itself, again, has to be transmitted. It's traveling out in a straight line. We can add refraction if we want to, but when we're doing that, we're kind of reaching for the globe thing. Let's just be simple, right? Electromagnetic radiation
It's
travels in straight
not.
lines
It's
and
not
propagates.
reaching. It's demonstrable that
So hear what you're saying
electromagnetic
now.
radiation
So hear what you're saying
refracts.
now. That means that radar is completely dependent on refraction now then.
No, I didn't say that.
I
I
mean,
just said
well,
that sometimes it happens.
you're kind of adding in a small little thing of possibility, not necessarily the operation of the way it works, right?
I'm sorry.
Radar,
Can you restate
yeah.
that?
So radar requires line of sight, and what you're saying is, well, it could refract, but what I'm
Yeah,
saying
it
in
depends
return
on
is,
whether it meets a refracting surface.
and what I'm saying is, radar is not dependent on refraction. So what I'm speaking of, in contrast, maybe I can give you a little bit more of my brain to make it make sense. The longest world record radar. Do you know how long it is?
Not off the top of my head, no.
That's okay. It's 830 miles, right?
Okay.
And that was set this last September, 2023. 830 miles. Now, I'm backing that up and dividing that by 8 to 100 miles. So at 100 miles, using the R value of the globe, that should give us 6,666 feet of drop. Now, of course, we're going to add observer height, object height, all that good stuff. But when we put that math in, we're still looking at a mile of curvature drop here, right? So 100 miles, again, I'm sitting
Or
on
a
a
mile
signal.
of refraction.
I mean, can you really think about that being a mile, an entire mile of refraction?
Do you
That's a
understand
reach.
how the atmosphere tends to refract light?
So hear what you're saying. Again, you just said that could be a mile of refraction. Now, does that happen every day? Is this a variable that we have as a
It's a
constant, or
pretty
does this
common
change?
phenomenon, yeah.
Is that something we have every day? Is that a constant? Is that how radar is dependent? Is the radar dependent on refraction to see 100 miles? No, it's not. It's absolutely not. The world record radar at 830 miles was actually set at sea level.
I would say that obviously the 800-mile record is dependent on certain conditions, but
I mean,
the more reliable scenarios are less dependent on sensitive conditions. I'm not a military person, so I
I'm
don't
not asking you to
know.
be. No, nor am I expecting you to be. We're just two men on TikTok contrasting. That's all.
Yeah,
You know,
but to me, your argument sounds very, very messy. And
well, I'm
I
trying to make it
don't,
simple. I actually said the laws of electromagnetic radiation, they travel in straight lines and they propagate. You are the one adding an extra scenario to that one, not
yes,
me.
because I'm pointing out your argument is breezing past a lot of complexities that the real world enforces.
You're muddying the model by
Yes,
adding
because it
right.
is muddy. I'm telling you the world is complicated, and you're pointing out, like, or you're trying to make
So
an
so
argument based on messy data.
so respectfully, sir, think about this again, because you're putting an absolute on radar now that it's refraction. I'm
No, I
saying how
didn't
it
say
actually
that. I
works.
said it could be refraction. I don't
Well,
know.
I mean,
I haven't personally researched this topic a
right.
lot.
I have. So
Yeah.
electromagnetic radiation travels in straight lines and it propagates. Radar needs to have line of sight. It bounces off the object. It then needs to reflect directly back to the transmitter in order to be received. If not, there's going to be obstruction. And if we're
It
talking about a
just needs to
curve,
follow back through the same optical path that it took to the target.
now imagine
And
that, my man.
I was
Imagine.
going, no, listen,
Go
listen.
ahead. Go
I
ahead.
was going to mention this earlier when we weren't even talking about, specifically radar. We were talking about Snell's law. And the thing is that uh, optical systems or optical paths are fully reversible. So, like, if you have a laser, like pointing like a laser beam through any kind of optical system, and it encounters a mirror at 90-degree perpendicular to bounce directly back along the path where it came, that beam is going to travel exactly back where it started, no matter what intervening optics you have, because all of the reflections and refractions and all of them are fully reversible.
Can you
They work
agree?
the same in reverse.
Can you agree that that would work the same on a flat surface?
Well, yeah, of course.
So, Occam's razor, which one makes more sense?
Okay, Occam's razor, sunset, right? We
But
see the sun
radar,
go below eye
radar,
level.
radar. Occam's razor. Which makes more sense? Electromagnetic travels in straight lines. It needs to come back to the receiver. Now, number one, to go over one curve down and hit one object is one thing, but now to travel back and curve again from the same direction that it came from, light doesn't work like that, my man. Light does not work
Wait,
like
whoa, whoa,
that.
whoa, 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 whoa. Slow down, slow down. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Can you say that again?
yeah. If we're talking about a spherical object, a globe, and we're talking 100 miles from 2 points, if I send a signal out, and by definition of electromagnetic radiation, it travels in straight lines and it propagates, right? So if I this signal out into a straight line to the horizon, and if I'm going to see another ship that's 100 miles away, this electromagnetic radiation would physically have to curve down over the ball. It would hit that object, bounce off that object. Now, technically, it should be bouncing into outer space, but what you're postulating is that it actually is curving back in the same exact parabolic arc that
Okay,
it was
no,
transmitted in.
no, listen. So when a radar signal hits an object,
Yeah,
like let's say it hits this globe or whatever, it
right.
disperses.
It
So
reflects, right.
unless it's a an object that's got a perfectly specular surface in that band of the spectrum,
Right.
which I don't know you know, the likelihood that that would be the case with a radar. I think most objects are diffuse in the radar spectrum. So, um, like what that means is you see like little hot spots on this globe, right? That's specular reflection. That means this globe is a poor demonstration. If instead I don't know, find a piece of paper, right? There you don't see hot spots because this is a diffuse surface.
Okay.
That means that when any kind of electromagnetic radiation hits the surface,
Hmm.
it bounces a little bit in all directions,
Okay.
which means that, and this is why radar works so well, because things generally it bounces in a diffuse manner, meaning that no matter what angle it hits it from, some portion of that signal is always, always, always going to bounce directly back where it came from, back to your source.
It requires line of sight, and with a curve in the way, that's physically impossible.
It's there. Real world things here that you're just breezing past.
No, I think you're kind of holding on to your confirmation bias about electromagnetic radiation and the globe, because it requires line of sight. This is a matter of fact. And even if
No,
you
you're
step into,
you're oversimplifying.
how about microwave link? Are you familiar with microwave link? That
Not
takes us into another. That
necessarily.
takes us into another conversation about radar. It's the next step up. Microwave link, absolutely, without a doubt, requires line of sight. There's no question about it. It's different.
I
It's
don't
a
know
part
what
of
to
the.
tell you, Gene
Yeah.
Techman. Every
Yeah.
signal in any area of the
Yeah.
electromagnetic spectrum will always have some way of refracting sometimes if it meets
So
a refracting surface.
so
No,
micro.
no spectrum is exempt from Snell's law.
Right. So
No
this is what you're
spectrum.
saying, my man. This is what it's kind of interesting to me because I'm trying to keep it simple, but you're reaching for the, well, it bounces and goes
No,
in all directions.
you're oversimplifying. I'm not reaching. You're oversimplifying. You
So
are.
you're saying military is collecting data that bounced and scattered all over from a direction that they don't know where it's coming from now, right?
A
It has to
diffuse
come
reflection
directly from the bounce.
guarantees that some portion of the signal will come back to the source.
It has to come
That's what it does.
directly from the
Yes, because it's a
bounce.
diffuse reflection. That means some portion of the signal is guaranteed to come
So
back directly
I'm
to the
not I'm not
source.
talking about television, right? I'm not talking about radio where it's bouncing and then we're picking up a little signal. I'm talking about specifically pointing where exactly an item is at, right? If it diffuses, it bounces in multiple different directions, we don't know exactly where that's at anymore at all,
Oh
especially
yeah,
if it's
yeah,
on the
we
other
do.
side
We
of it.
know
No,
when
no.
you receive the signal back, you know exactly where that signal came from.
How
Because
when it's moving in multiple different directions from? That doesn't can't work on a ball, my guy.
I think you misunderstood. Okay, let me go back to my demonstration of the diffuse reflection, right? So let's say your radar instrument is here, and we'll pretend this is 100 miles, obviously. You send a signal, and in this scenario, just for simplicity, for this argument, let's say it's a direct line of sight, okay? No refraction going on. It hits the object, the target.
Right.
From this point, it bounces in all directions because it's a diffuse reflection. That means from this point, it bounces back in all directions.
It
So that if there
It
was a
scatters in all
radar,
directions.
yeah, so if there was some guy over here trying to receive, like trying to look in the radar part of the spectrum, he might see a little blip. But the original source of the signal will also see a blip.
It's going to get
And
the
the
reflection. The
yeah,
receiver
because
needs a
one
direct line
portion
of
of
sight
that
reflection.
diffuse reflection, one portion of that diffuse reflection will go directly back along the line of sight where it came from to the source, and that source will only receive that one part of the diffuse reflection that went directly back to it.
Is there a radar
So,
horizon?
yeah, I think so. I mean,
So if there's a radar horizon and radar requires line of sight, It needs to bounce
It
off that
doesn't
item.
require line of sight all
It
the time.
does.
There's
It absolutely
refraction.
does. I'm sorry, but it does. It does. You can look this up. Radar requires line of sight. Microwave link
You're
requires line of sight.
oversimplifying.
No, I'm not. Microwave link, it's anything above 40, I think it's 40 megahertz is considered microwave, and that requires line of sight. It's actually very sensitive. If there's a tree in the way,
All
that's
right.
a
Well, it
problem.
seems like we're going in circles a little bit. I do
All right.
have another guest
All right.
waiting.
Respect. A 24,901 mile ball has the approximate convexity of 8 inches per mile squared, but Earth does not. There's no curve. We're not moving. The stars are still the same.
All right. I'll let you have the last word there.
Yeah,
Thank you very
respect.
much for joining.
Thanks for having me. Earth's
I'd be
not a
glad to
ball.
have you again sometime.
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll talk in the future, man. Good talking to you.
You too.
Have a good one.
You too. All right. It's flat.
Hey, what's up, man? I mean, you said it, I didn't.
I mean, I read your username, which means you did say it because you typed it.
Well, I mean, you said it, but give me this. Give me this. I want to. So, I have a few. These are don't. If we can meet in the midway, if we cannot give political answer, a yes or no. So, is the Earth a ball?
What do you mean
Yeah,
by political
asking.
answer? What?
Well, I mean, because political answers is where they go, oh, well, this and that and this. I'm just asking
Okay,
for a
I believe
straightforward
generally it
answer.
is a ball. Yes.
Okay, yeah. That's so just I'm just trying to get a straight line of where we at, just straightforward answers.
Okay.
Okay. So do you believe it's a ball?
Pretty much. Yes.
Okay. Well, pretty much. So what's the pretty much of, or is it a
Well,
ball?
it's
Is
a
it not,
couple
or what?
percentage points like oblate, and as that famous clip of Neil deGrasse Tyson was saying, it's a little bit pear-shaped. That's like 0.1% or something.
Okay.
But
Well, one sec. So you, yeah, just give me a sec. So, as you brought up Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's also said that the only way you can get a perfect shadow is by two perfect spheres. But in the same sentence, he said it was pear shaped. So how can you get a perfect circular shadow on the moon, right, with a perfect sphere if it's oblate and or pear shaped? And if you Google this,
okay,
Google one sec, sir. Google also says that it's ever changing. If you just help me out, I could appreciate this.
what, the Earth is ever changing?
Well, yeah. So
That's probably referring to plate
sorry,
tectonics.
quote unquote, science says it's kind of four ways. Because if you look up the top astrophysicist is Neil deGrasse Tyson. So Neil deGrasse Tyson says in multiple videos, if you look up his videos, I don't mean
I
to
don't
take
like
the
listening
mic,
to
but
Neil deGrasse Tyson personally.
well,
He's
yeah,
a
yeah. Well,
jerk.
I'm just saying when he talks, he says the only way you can get a perfect circle on the moon is with a perfect perfect spheroids, perfect circles. Okay, but in the same sentence, he said it was oblate and pear shaped, and you're the top astrophysicist in the world. How can you claim in the same sentence that the Earth is three separate shapes? It should be one shape, testable, measurable, and provable. I
Well,
mean, if you could help me out, bro. I'm just there's just and when I think common sense, there's a couple of things that's not right.
okay, slow down. Let me answer your first question before you move on, okay?
Yeah.
Um, the Earth is one shape, okay? It is a slightly
Uh,
complicated shape if you get into that level of detail. Generally it's a sphere. At first glance, it's a sphere. You have to measure very, very minute little details to come to the conclusion that it's, very slightly oblate and very slightly pear-shaped. It's like we're talking about measurements that you
okay.
cannot see with the naked eye. Okay?
Okay. Well, give me a sec. So they're claiming. So I'm sorry. So I hear what you said. So science is claiming these shapes. So that means science measured these shapes. So that
Hmm.
means science has something that you can research and showing that they measured these shapes. So
Yeah.
why you're claiming these? Can you show me the experiments with these three separate shapes and their formation?
Okay, well, to be perfectly honest, I have not looked into exactly what experiments they performed to
So
come
that
to the
go ahead.
conclusion that the Earth was, slightly pear-shaped at the equator, or the oblateness comes from the centrifugal effect, so that makes a little bit more like intuitive sense to me.
Well,
But
oh
I
yeah, yeah.
even there, I'm not personally familiar with the exact experiments they performed for that.
Okay, so on that quote, why are you testifying on something you can't fully and or know or don't know technically fully what's going on? Because these are technically theories from other people, and you're defending these theories if you
Well,
don't know for sure. In your own words, you just said, "I don't know for sure."
well,
That's basically what you said.
to be
But
fair,
you're going on your live and you're defending these theories.
okay,
I'm just
slow
asking.
down, slow down, slow down.
Oh,
You
because I'm
asked
right?
me,
Because I'm right?
no, no, don't make me
All
mute
right.
you. Don't make
No,
me
go
mute
ahead.
you.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. You good.
You asked me if I believed that the Earth was slightly oblate and slightly pear-shaped,
Okay.
etc.
Okay.
You
My
asked
fault.
me
My
that.
fault. I
I am not here
apologize.
on my live arguing with people whether the Earth is slightly oblate or slightly
I give you
pear-shaped.
that. I give
If
you
you
that. I
want to
give you that.
deny that, I have no issue with you. Okay?
Well, okay. I have one last question. Sorry. I'll be respectful. Even tone voice. I'll be respectful. So, the Earth, as you said earlier, you believe the Earth was a ball, correct? A ball.
Yes, roughly speaking.
Okay, okay, roughly speaking, I'll give you that. So we're on the beach, and when the boat disappears, is that going over the horizon?
It
Is that
depends.
going like over the ball? Well, okay,
It
well,
depends whether your line of sight to the boat is blocked. If it's hull down, that's the term for when you can still see details on the top half of the boat,
well,
but the bottom half is
right,
obscured by the ocean. That's called it being hull down. And if you see that, that is definitely obscured by the curve. If it
okay.
simply gets too small for you to see, that's not the curvature.
Um, so you need kind of need to repeat that because you're kind of like what I put
Okay, so let me
contradicting
actually show
yourself.
you a diagram. This will make it
Oh,
easier, I think.
oh, oh, please do. So wait, I'm asking you a simple question. If you're on the beach and you see the boat
It
go, is it disappearing over the curvature?
I'm not equivocating. Just bear with me a second.
Okay, okay. All right, I got you. I'll just ask you, I'm just for clarification, I ask you a simple question. It was a yes or no answer.
Okay, so do you see this? There are two phenomena.
Oh, okay. All right, let's go.
Yeah. So I mean, I used big fancy words here, de-resolution
No,
and
I got you. I
occultation,
got you. I got you.
just to
I
make it
got you.
very very explicit, but it's very simple.
Okay.
Okay, so
Oh
you
yeah.
see
Yeah.
this in this case on the left, this ship
Yeah.
is getting smaller and smaller and smaller until it's smaller
That's
than a pixel.
perception. That's perception. Perception and line of sight. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, so
next.
in this case, the line of sight is
Yeah.
intact. There is still a line of sight between you and the boat, but it's smaller than a pixel, so you can't see it.
That's what happens.
Here,
Convergence. That's convergence on line of sight. It's convergence to the line of sight line. Like people know
like
this.
the
Some people
vanishing point.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with
Right.
that. Yes.
It happens on a
This,
flat Earth. It happens on a flat because both of your pictures show a flat horizon in the back. Think about that. Your water on both your pictures is
now, are
a
you going to
flat
listen to my
horizon.
pointer to answer
Oh,
your
go
question
ahead.
or
Go
not?
ahead, sir. Go ahead. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so I agree. This is basically the boat disappearing on the vanishing point because it's smaller than a pixel. There's still a line of sight between your eye and the boat, but it's too small for you to see. That's what this is. Here, that this is very different. You can still see details on the top half of the boat, meaning the boat is not too small for you to see, but the bottom half is obscured by the ocean.
That
This
picture. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I made this picture in like basically Photoshop. This is
Yeah,
there.
I was about to say that picture's
Yeah,
fake. Oh, boy, I was just about to say that. That
it's
picture
fake.
on the
I'm
right is
trying.
fake
I
as
was
shit.
trying.
No,
All right,
there's no. You don't sit there and compare reality to a fake picture you
all
created,
right.
bro.
Calm down,
I
calm
was
down.
just about to no,
Calm
ain't no
down.
calm down, bro. Because when it come down to facts, you was showing
All
me a
right.
fake
I'm
picture. I called it, bro. I seen it. I was about
no,
to
no.
tell you that's a
Listen,
fake ass picture, bro. Man, get the
I'm gonna
fuck out
mute.
of here, man. You lying, bro. Come on, bro. I just whopped you, bro. I seen that was a fake ass picture because boats don't tilt like that when they go on. Man, you fake ass. I'm glad I was recording this live. I'm gonna put your ass on blast, you fake ass motherfucker.
All right. Wow. Um, I'm gonna finish what I was saying just for the sake of everyone watching. That was really awful. Um, eh, for the record, I did not kick him. I was just trying to mute him. I think maybe either he left or TikTok kicked him for swearing. I'm not sure. Anyway, so hull down ship. Okay. Very simple to Google. There's a million pictures of this. Like, I did not expect him to challenge that because this is like demonstrable. I've seen flat earthers acknowledge this. Like this for example. You know, this is what I was making in Photoshop. The only reason I used Photoshop was just to make it simple and clear that I was like, contrasting it with this other situation. Oh my gosh, I did not expect. Anyway, whatever. So, let's see who else wants to join. I think top means the person who's been waiting the longest, right? I might have time for a few more guests. We'll see.
I doubt it, but we'll see. What's going on, bro? So why do you
Welcome.
believe you live on a globe?
You're a Glober? Okay.
No, no, no. I'm absolutely. I'm a true earther, and I know for a fact it's not a
Oh,
globe.
my
But
mistake. I'm sorry.
why do
I
you
misheard
believe
you.
that you're on a globe? Because they taught me the same thing they taught you, and I bet
Okay.
you. Actually, never mind.
So have you measured the sunset?
Sunset. When you say sunset, what are you saying to me?
Oh, come on. You know what a sunset is.
So you're saying, yeah. It's so funny, but the emetology of the words that you're using and you're selecting to use, sun is setting. You're implying the sun is moving, not Earth rotating away from you, right? So based on your first point, you're actually going along with what flat Earth belief is, that the
Uh,
sun converges
okay.
into a single point onto the
It's not that
horizon.
deep, dude. It's not that deep. Okay.
Mm,
Everybody calls it sunset because it's that's what it looks like.
mm.
I'm not making a worldview claim when I say sunset.
I would disagree based on the choice of words that you use, but let's go back to your nonsense about boats going over the horizon with it's flat, right?
Okay. I guess
Okay,
we can go back to that if you want.
so convergence exists, curvature doesn't. So you're in a
Are you
conundrum.
gonna are you gonna be upset at me because I used Photoshop to make a point
No, absolutely
like the
not.
other guy was?
No, absolutely not. In fact, are you going to be upset if I ask you for the big box on your life so I can flat smack the shit out of you on your point that you just used?
I'm sorry, can you
Yeah.
ask that again?
Um.
I
Okay.
didn't
So
catch what you said.
you're demonstrating convergence. Now I'll throw up my screen, and we'll talk about a couple of things about convergence. Okay. So we've already
Before you
seen.
get it too far, I'd like you to repeat what you said because I didn't hear it.
So
Can you repeat?
convergence exists. Convergence exists. Curvature, geometric ball earth curvature doesn't exist. So 2 points about your thing right there, right? On the left, you have clear convergence, right?
Yeah.
On the right, you have at that beyond the vanishing point, you are increasing your angular size. For that demonstration, that's nonsense, right? Our eyesight doesn't actually do that. So if you want to
I
give
don't
me the
even
big
know what you're
box,
saying. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
of course you don't. So incredulity isn't an argument, Glober. So can you give me the big box? I'll explain to you where.
Listen, okay, hold on.
Hold on.
No, don't make me mute you, please. Listen, okay? I am not
So I
here
asked
to
respectfully for the big box so I can educate your audience because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So respectfully, sir, can you give me the big box?
Yeah, that was the thing you said that I couldn't hear. I'm gonna mute you for a second, okay? And that's because I'm not gonna be talking about flat Earth versus globe for a second, okay? I'm not trying to win the argument against you by muting you. I'm muting you because I want to tell you I am not interested in this becoming a boxing match, okay? I am interested in respectful, calm, friendly debate. And I am interested in that because I care about science and truth. I am
Okay.
a Christian. I'm not an atheist. I'm not trying to prove that there's no God. I'm not trying to prove that, there's no point or meaning to life.
Okay.
I have no dog in this fight except that I truly believe the earth is a globe. And if you are not going to level with me and talk to me man to man, and if you're going to start trying to insinuate that I'm being dishonest or whatever, I will kick you. Okay? I'm not interested in that kind of conversation. So and please watch your language as well, because I don't want things getting impolite. You understand me?
Yep. So science or biblical? Which way do you want to go with this? Either or, I'm
You're
ready. Like respectfully, which way do you want to go? Science
which
or biblical
you mean
creation? Which way do you
which
want to go?
topic do I want to debate? Is
Yeah,
that what you're
about the
saying?
shape of the Earth, because I would like to inform your audience about convergence, and then we're going to proceed into either the field of your
All right, we
choice.
we started on
Science.
we started on hull down ships, so let's stay on that. Okay,
Okay,
but
so fair enough. Can I please have the
hey,
big box for a sec, and we'll just go over a couple points that you seem to be missing.
oh, that's what you're asking. You're asking me to put your screen big enough for people to
Yeah,
see.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I'm a little wary about that because I think you keep jerking forward like a dog on a chain, okay? You got to slow down
Hmm.
and work with
I
me,
don't.
okay?
I
Don't
don't
just
understand.
I'm not
Sorry, I
giving
don't
you
get
a
it.
platform just so you can try to make me look like a fool
You don't
because
need your platform, bud.
I'm
You
not
don't.
here to make you look like a fool, and I expect the same from you, okay?
Hmm.
You were
So
just
we're
saying that,
going on two
like,
minutes
give you the
now.
big
Do you want
box.
to debate? Do you want if you're asking
Okay,
to debate? So
muting you again. Okay, you were asking for the big box so you could educate my audience. That tells me that you're trying to make me look like a fool. Okay, so you got to change your attitude for me to give you the big box, okay? A little bit, please.
change my attitude? Are
Just a
you
little
begging
bit.
me? Okay. Well, I'm being respectful, and I asked already
Well, you are
four.
now.
Okay, so I asked 4 times now, and you didn't hear the first 2 times. I'm not sure why you chose to selectively not hear that, but it's
Okay, you
okay.
just did it again. I'm kicking you.
Come on, man.
All right. Does anyone else want to share the point that that gentleman was just trying to make because he didn't seem capable of doing it in a respectful way? Or if the same one would like to, if you would like to request again, I'll give you another chance. But there are consequences. Okay, you gotta understand. Okay. Let's see. We got some of the same people asking again. I don't remember.
All right, I'm back. I'm back. So
All right.
it seems like you're not willing to share the big screen
No,
for some
I
reason. It
will.
seems like you're in
I
fact.
will.
So are you
It's just
talking
that
over me disrespectfully on your live? Sorry, that's kind of uncordial. So
I'm
if you're gonna
trying
try and
to
pull your
is
bullshit as you interrupt me, oh, you're gonna
I
mute me for interrupting? That's gaslighting. Are you narcissist? Delusional? You
my mistake for inviting him again. Okay. Let's see. It's flat has been on before. Gunner for life.
I I don't know what to say about that. I will say this: I know Chris. I know Chris very well. I think the issue between you and Chris is personality different,
Very
different.
possibly.
Because he's not trying to make you look like a fool. As you said, you seek the truth. He's just trying to show you the truth. Now, he may word it wrong, but I think you gain a lot of knowledge. Now, again, not to make you look stupid. We're not here to make you look stupid. I'm a flat earther. Clearly, you can tell. We're to help
Okay.
you guys understand what is pseudoscience versus what is science, right?
Well, I
So,
appreciate you recognizing where I'm
so
coming from,
I
and
will
I
say
would
this, if you hear
certainly.
me in the chats, I love you, brother. I love you, Chris, but clearly he doesn't like that type of personality.
Well,
Yeah,
listen,
it's not to
I'll
make you
give him
look
another
stupid.
chance sometime. I really will. Like, I'm a
This
believer
isn't a
in.
make you look dumbass move. This is not what we're intending for. I think I can speak on most flat earthers. All we're looking for is truth and transparency. So
Yeah, I just really draw the line at someone insinuating something about my mindset and my motives
well, I think that
when
was
I
a
haven't.
disconnect. I think it was a disconnect when he said I wanted to
Yeah,
educate your viewers because we want to educate everybody that we talk to. Every time, everybody we come in contact, just like you want to educate us, right? That's your intentions is to educate us.
yeah,
Our intention is clearly the opposite, but the same thing is to help educate people that
yeah.
we've all been lied to. This is all bullshit. So
Okay.
I forgot why when I first sent the request, but I would say maybe Chris. I mean, I love you, Chris, but I think if you give him a chance and maybe realize that some people from New York, we talk, we speak Texas. So I think I think that's where it was at because we can all learn a lot from Chris. I've been researching it for probably a couple of years longer than Chris, but Chris gets into things and numbers and math and science like I've never seen before. So that's all I want to say about that, man. 'Cause I really forgot what the fuck I was going to say to you initially, but Chris is a good guy, man. That's all I'm going to say. So if I remember
So this would.
if I remember what I was going to say to you, I'll send a request in. But after that with Chris, I kind of
Okay.
forgot what I was going to say.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you sharing that, and
Absolutely, brother,
I
man. Have a good
certainly
night, man.
I
I'm
certainly don't want to assassinate Chris's character or anything.
good guy. Good guy.
Maybe there's a way we could have a better dialogue. I I
I
gotta
get it. I get it.
yeah, yeah.
But yep. All right, man.
So
Like I said, if I remember what I was going to say initially when I first sent the request, I'll send you another one.
all right. Well, thank you.
All right, brother,
Have a
man.
good
You have a
night.
good one. Yes, sir. I'll let you kick me. Go ahead.
Yeah, I okay, Chris, I see you in the request again. I'm not sure if I meant that I would give you another chance right now. Maybe another day. Um I I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm sorry. It just I think tempers should cool. So I'm gonna say no. All right.
Hey,
Walk. How you pronounce?
hello.
Welcome.
All right, so I have an experience, right? This might be like my perception on what I think everything is just on that experience, but like it sways like round or flat. Like I do think it's a rhythm. Like it doesn't exist in most of the times. Like we're probably seeing what we see, but like like we exist at a point, and anything beyond that, like when we get to that point is light speed, and like it all breaks down to these mathematical patterns to the point where we can't comprehend it anymore, and we reach this home, but we're always at the home. So like who's to say like earth isn't round or flat, but it's just like a rhythm being played out from something like, like a simulation is all I think, from like what. And like, how would you measure that, And are we already doing that by measuring our environments with all these technologies we're putting out there, like our magnetic, like just our surroundings, like we're observing all of this space. We're trying to figure out what exactly we are in, because in the end, I mean, what is it? No one actually knows what it is.
So would you characterize yourself as undecided or agnostic then about the, globe versus flat?
I Well, okay, so my experience when I got to it, it spoke to me. It said to believe this. And like when I woke up from that, I just believed in like, I don't know, like I believed like a higher like frequency that was like, I don't know how to, like, it was like a weird thing to say, right? You see something and it tells you to believe, but like when you wake up, it's like it's like a dream, right? You're like, hmm, like what to believe, you know? But in there, it was so certain. I was home. I marched into darkness until like at first I was scared, and then like I was home, and then I marched away from home, and I felt like I was at war. But like I marched until I was nothing. Like I flickered to nothing, and like existence was
Well,
non-existence anymore.
respectfully, I appreciate you coming on and I appreciate you sharing. I'm not sure that I have much of a response to what you're saying. Like, I'm not really necessarily interested in trying to like if there's anything that you and I would disagree about regarding your dream or about like your perspective on the shape of the earth.
Well, I just think
I'm
it's
not sure
weird
I
that
would.
there's so many experiences too that are like the same, you know? Like in like like it's just too much. Like, you ever seen Total Recall? Like how you could just like simulate different worlds and stuff in your mind and stuff. Like if you could do that, then who's to say this ain't just the oil painting that we're stuck in because of the construct of our own mind? And how can you measure that with the devices we create in this world?
Well, if I mean it, there is actually a pretty formal uh, a pretty formal case of like people hypothesizing about what they call simulation theory, and it sounds like it bears certain similarities to what you're saying, and that is one of the active things they're trying to do is like figure out how can we even experiment
To
to
confirm that, yeah.
prove or disprove whether we're in a simulation or whatever. So that there's some similarities to that in what you're saying. It sounds like, but
Well,
that's kind of
I'll
I
let you
mean
kick me off here. My bad. I didn't mean to derail you.
that's okay. I mean, it's very interesting what you're saying. I just it's a little outside my purview, I guess, is what I would say. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah, yeah. Have a good one.
You too. Have a good night. All right. Um,
Jason.
say your username. Can you?
Jason.
Okay. Well, welcome, Jason.
Hey, earlier, did you say you are a Christian?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's good. So here's my point. If you didn't grow up exposed to Christian beliefs and only in the school system, just bear with me. They would have taught you in the Big Bang and evolution
Yeah.
and a globe. I guarantee you don't believe in the Big Bang, you don't believe in evolution,
Correct.
but you tend to follow them on the globe. I want you to just plant that seed that why would they do that? Like the other two things, this is just to steal away from the creator.
Can I counter
In the
that, or
Bible,
are
if
you
you
just
just
here
start
to?
in Genesis chapter 1, he explains it, and I'm sure everybody's made that point before about the earth, the way it's made, the firmament. It's all clear and it's all in the Bible.
So, are you willing to hear counterpoints, or were you just wanting to say that and then, um, like,
That's really all I wanted to do is just somebody planted that seed with me, several years ago.
okay, that's
And
not
look,
going to work. That's not. No, there are very solid counter arguments to what you're saying, and if you were interested to hear them, I would love to share.
go ahead, tell me
There's no
something.
seed of flat Earth theory going to grow out of my head.
Tell me something that I don't know then.
All right, have you heard of conflict thesis?
No.
All right, I guarantee you that when I describe to you what conflict thesis is, you will realize you've seen it everywhere. You just didn't know that's what it was called. Conflict thesis is the belief that science and religion are fundamentally, inherently opposed to one another, that they're incompatible and you have to choose one or the other. Okay?
Makes
That's
sense.
what conflict thesis is. And atheists really push conflict thesis. They started it, they push it, because to them, it plays into their hand, obviously, because they want everyone to basically just bury the Bible and think that it's, ancient anti-scientific nonsense. But it's a false dichotomy, right? Because God created the world. And therefore, the study of nature is the study of God's creation. So God has given all of humanity certain tools that we can use to solve the puzzle of creation, you know. And when scientists go into a laboratory and they perform experiments in a laboratory according to verifiable logic and math and verifiable principles and the scientific method, which, by the way, the scientific method was pioneered by Christians, like Francis Bacon, he served under King James, the same King James for whom the KJV Bible is named. That's who, one of the major figures in the scientific method. The whole thing about hypothesizing and experimenting and revising. So science is 100% compatible with the Bible, real science. So what goes wrong when they start talking about, Darwinism and how humans have evolved from apes and stuff like that? Well, I'll give you one big clue. You can't measure a human's ancestor in a lab. You can sequence their DNA, but their DNA is not the same as their ancestor. You have to make inferences. That is, you have to make a logical deduction from the evidence in front of you in order to make decisions or draw conclusions about the past. So already, Darwinism and Big Bang Theory alike are talking about past events that are not directly observable. That already takes it into the realm of forensics and historical science rather than experimental or observational science. Experimental and observational science, those are basically the humans using the tools God gave us to study his creation. It's pretty hard to go wrong with that if you do it right. And that's why atheists are even, they're right about natural selection, when they sequence the DNA of microbes that they've been trying to evolve in their labs, they can measure that genome and they can see how it's changed. They're correct about that. They're just not correct that this microbe evolved from, some prehistoric thing that had a common ancestor with humans. That's something they cannot measure in their lab. Similarly, we can measure the shape of the earth. So that's something God has given us the ability to do. Science doesn't tell us where the earth came from. Science only tells us how big it is and what shape it is and, that good stuff, because we can actually measure that. So those are my counterpoints. I hope I didn't I guess that was kind of long-winded. I hope I didn't run
No,
over your.
you asked to give me your opinion, and to me, that's what it is. It's an opinion, and you didn't say anything to me that says he did not create the earth the way he described it in the Bible. You didn't mention the firmament.
God did not describe the shape of the earth in the Bible.
In the firmament?
Genesis. Okay, so firmament is a mistranslation.
It's a vault.
The actual word is rakia in Hebrew, and
it's vault.
I've heard arguments that it can refer to hammering out a piece of metal, but does that refer to the substance or does that refer to the process? It does say God stretched out the heavens, and maybe rakia is how the modern Bibles translate it, expands. It's referring to the byproduct of that stretching out process, whatever that byproduct is. It doesn't necessarily mean a hard substance. Okay,
If we did not have a surrounding our atmosphere would be sucked into the vacuum of space.
No.
Because in no scientific experiment can they ever take an amount of oxygens and nitrogens and stick them to a ball in the vacuum and it stay on the ball. It always
That's because
disperses.
gravity doesn't work at small scales. That's just how it is. So like, let me ask you, do you agree that if you take a barometer, you measure the density of the atmosphere and then like the atmospheric pressure, and then you go up a mountain, and take another measurement with the same barometer, is it going to be a lower pressure?
I believe that the atmosphere can settle, more dense things can settle in the atmosphere.
Yeah, it compresses downward, right?
That doesn't prove anything.
That's what space is. It's just if you follow that pressure gradient up far enough, then eventually somebody's going to draw a line and say, okay, this pressure is so low, let's call it space. That's what space is.
So I know you've heard people make the arguments about you can go out and you can physically see things that you're not supposed to be able to see, correct? Okay.
I've heard things like that, yeah.
I fish a lot, and I was fishing near a bridge, and in the distance, I could faintly see it, but I knew I was looking at some cooling towers from a power plant that was not close by. So I have a Samsung, with the big zoom. I zoomed in. I took a clear picture from the top to the bottom of these cooling towers that are 425 feet tall. Being that they're 20 miles away, there's supposed to be 225 feet of that hidden by the curve. It's not hidden.
Okay.
It's flat.
Okay.
Now you're going to tell me I can see around curves now?
Well, if you put a pencil in a cup of water, do you see the pencil bend? It's not a trick question. I'm not trying to make a gotcha. I'm just saying it's atmospheric refraction. Okay, so like that's not a hand wavy magic word. We know that light bends when it meets, difference in density or different media. So like let me ask you that measurement you took or that building you saw across 20 miles of water, have you ever looked again and it was gone? Like, sunken below the horizon?
No.
You always see it all the way to the bottom every single time?
If there's, I mean, I don't know. I just noticed it the one time. I don't fish in
Okay.
that particular area all the
Well-
time, but I do know that when I see things like on my boat, maybe a lighthouse in the distance, I'll see it after maybe I can make it through the atmosphere between me and that object, but I never see the top of a lighthouse and then it get taller and taller as I get closer to it. It's either there or it's not once the atmosphere allows me to see it due to the distance.
Well, I mean, how often have you done this experiment where you see only the top half of a lighthouse and then you continue to watch the lighthouse as you walked all
I've
the way
never seen the
to...
top half. I just said I either see it all or you don't see it at all.
Well, you just...
I meant you
Okay,
see
well,
the entire thing
there are many, many observations, at least from other people, where only the top half of something is visible, okay?
until
I mean,
they zoom in on it, and then they usually see the bottom.
No, that's not true. That's not true. If you can see detail on the top half and the bottom half is obscured by water, no lens on the planet or on the Earth, if you want to say Earth instead of planet, no lens of all of mankind, no lens will bring back that bottom half that's obscured by the water. I promise you. If you can still see detail on the top half and the bottom half is obscured, that means something is blocking the line of sight. No lens will bring it back from your location. That's impossible. every time I have heard a flat earther say that that's possible, I've said, okay, show me the video. Every time they show me a video of somebody just zooming in or out on a boat that's not obscured on the bottom half. Other trick that's just not showing what I asked for.
I don't have any comment on that part. I mean, I can think of, I mean, if obviously you see something in the distance that it's always a little distorted at the bottom, just like the way that the heat rises off of the asphalt and kind of makes it kind of wavy looking. I mean, we've all seen that before, so maybe there's something
Yeah.
like that taking place. But that doesn't change the fact that it could still be there and it's only the atmosphere or some kind of a reflection making it wavy, the light in that area.
Okay, but like there are cases where like hundreds of feet of the bottom of an object are obscured by the horizon. You're saying that like heat waves would cause that?
Maybe.
Okay. Well,
There's too many. Okay, so the whole flat Earth thing to me is only a couple of years for me.
okay.
And
So you're saying
this
there
is
might
my
be
first
other flat
live.
earthers
This is
that
my
will give
first
a better
live. I
answer?
don't do this. I don't ever do this.
That's
You know,
fair.
but this
I
is the
will
first time I wanted
always,
to chime in because you did say you're a Christian, and yes,
yeah.
you get like my own family. You know, you're in a cult as soon as you say the Earth is flat, and you're like, well, I mean,
Well, yeah. I probably shouldn't comment on that.
well, I mean, but I know what I can go out and see, and I know my opinion of what the Bible says about the Earth, and
Okay, well, the
the
Bible is not a matter of opinion. Okay, respectfully. There are objective hermeneutical rules you can apply to learn what Moses actually meant when he wrote the Pentateuch, or what Joshua actually meant when he wrote Joshua and Judges, or, what any given Bible author inspired by the Holy Spirit actually meant to communicate. That's the question when you approach the Bible, right? And there's rules for how you study that. There are right and wrong answers. Okay? And any time that I've seen a flat earther try to use a verse to say, that the earth is flat, it's been what's called phenomenological language, meaning it's how things look to a human observer. Because guess what? God is not interested in teaching 21st century space science to somebody from 1000 BC. That does not matter to the man's eternal soul. Okay, the Bible is about spiritual matters and morality,
I don't think
reconciliation
it's a
with God.
spiritual issue. Yeah, I don't think it's a salvation issue, but I do think it's another one of the deceptions that as soon as somebody opens the Bible that doesn't know anything about it and they start reading, and if they get the impression, like it says, describing the earth and the firmament and it appearing to be flat, they're going to close it and walk away, which is what the intent is.
Okay, well, in order to, okay, let me ask you this. What do you think of Matthew 5:45 or Ephesians 4:26? Okay. These are verses you've heard before. Matthew 5:45. Jesus says, "Love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who's in heaven, for he makes his sun rise on the just and the unjust." Rise, as in move upward, right? Or Ephesians 4:26. Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. What is that?
And it sounds like the same argument you had with somebody earlier when you said sunset.
Yeah, it's sunset. It's you can say, okay, you can say that that's phenomenological, meaning that's how it looks to a human observer. right? That's a valid interpretation of that verse. But guess what? That means it's not ontological, right? If you think the sun is like traveling horizontally and not going up or down, that means that what Jesus said and what Paul wrote are not ontological descriptions, right? It means that that's not a true like bird's eye view description of what's happening. So guess what? The same could be said of every single other verse that describes the earth. Every single one. Because the Bible never ever describes earth from space. It's just not something God cared about when he wrote the Bible. It's something he cared about when he created the earth.
I thought it
But
did say that when he took Enoch up and he looked down, he saw the earth was round, because that's normally what the Globers say. Is they say, well, Enoch said it was round, but they're also, and that argument
what
to
is that
that
from
is
the book of Enoch? I don't think that's in the Bible at all.
there's a lot of things that there are books that were not put in the Bible, and Enoch is mentioned throughout the
Yeah, but
Bible
okay,
and in
but
a high
the book of
regard.
Enoch contains some things that I don't think any of us would subscribe to. Okay, to be fair, like
I understand that.
there's some things in there that you don't want to be basing your worldview on the book of Enoch.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's something that usually gets brought up. Well, Enoch looked down and he said that what he saw was round. And that's when they'll say, well, one says it's a globe and the other one says, well, it can still be a disc.
My position is that the Bible does not discuss the shape of the earth at all. There are verses that either side can twist to support a globe or a flat earth or whatever, but ultimately, if we're honest, the Bible does not discuss this subject at all.
You have your Bible handy. Would you read Genesis chapter 1?
Sure.
I think it's maybe within the first seven verses. I don't know
In the
what
beginning,
version you
God
have.
created the heavens and the earth. This is ESV. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and there was evening and there was morning the first day. And God said, let there be an expanse, or if you read the KJV, that's a firmament.
Or a vault, okay.
In the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. And God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse, and it was so. And God called the expanse heaven, and there was evening and there was morning the second day. Is it in there what you were looking for?
Okay. Yeah, so how else can you just explain that he separated waters above and waters below if all the waters are on one ball?
Well, there's two possibilities that come to mind immediately. One is that we just don't know. I mean,
No, I think you're reaching because he just said it. You read it. Go ahead.
Well, I was not giving the possibilities in order of which one came to my mind first. Okay. I was just trying to be honest. Like it's very possible we just don't know. Okay. There's more that I can share on that as well. But the second possibility that comes to mind, and this is how I always read it when I was a child, was that it's talking about clouds. I mean, there's sky between us and clouds.
The sky is not a vault or a firmament or anything solid.
It's not a vault or a firmament. It's the Hebrew word rakia. It means an expanse. And we don't know what expanse is except the sky. In all the rest of the Bible verses that use that word, the basic connotation seems to be just the sky. Okay? I mean, that's all that we know that it means. I mean, the word firmament is actually a mistranslation because it's influenced by the Greek Septuagint with the word stereoma, if I'm not mistaken, which was actually influenced by Greek mythology. So it's actually just the expanse. That's the best translation we have.
Okay. On a different note on this topic, do you not find it odd though that there are so many people? It's not like a small group anymore. I mean, there's a ton of people on both sides of this, and I see the comments in here. I know they're both sides, but a lot of them also look like flat Earth, supporters and globers. But the lot, there's live after live once you start watching this stuff. I'm sure you've seen some of the other ones, but I mean, if we're talking like one out of a couple million, then I would say, yeah, something's not right there. But it's, at least on these, it's usually half and half or a little bit more, one or the other,
Well,
depending on who the
I
host
hope you're
is.
not making an ad populist fallacy here, trying to say basically because a certain number of people believe it, therefore there must be something to it. Because, I mean, evolutionists use the exact same argument to try to snuff out creationism. I mean, it just. I understand where you're coming from. Like, I don't mean to totally torpedo what you're saying. Like, there has to be some sociological explanation for why flat Earth theory has really gotten a foothold in our society now. And most globers, of course, say, well, it's just social media because it gives a voice to the ignorant and stuff. Um, but like, I'm sure you can feel that's like kind of shaky ground. Like, we don't base truth on majority vote, and we don't know necessarily why certain ideas gain popularity or don't. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I guess that's my response to that. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. No, I knew it was a kind of off topic point, but
Yeah.
well,
So it
I guess,
seems like we're losing a little bit of steam. Maybe I should invite another guest
yeah,
here.
you can let somebody else take the head on this, but I appreciate you letting me chit chat for a minute. And
Yeah, I really appreciate you. Like this, I mean, yeah, maybe you saw earlier there was a guy who was a lot less respectful, and hopefully,
I,
we can invite him again sometime, and he'll be more respectful. But it's always
I
nice to
saw the
meet somebody like you.
exchange. Well, okay. One piece of advice on that. when
Okay.
you put up something that's fake, like your CGI graphic that you created, that
Okay.
is really, really bad on this topic
No,
because
okay, come
on the
on.
flat
Like,
earther side, everything NASA puts out is fake, right? And then you want to make a point and you use a fake generated. I know you're just
yeah,
trying
I
to.
did it. I really did it, honestly, because I thought it would make the point better. Okay. I did
Well,
not
okay,
expect
with the
anyone.
backfire.
Yeah, it did backfire. I did not expect anyone to challenge the point that pictures like that exist, because I have literally seen flat earthers use like show pictures like that. They're all over the internet. It's not hard to find them. I was Googling for a second and found some. Like, I don't know why he would get all hot and bothered about that, and I don't know why you would either. It's just like it a ship being hull down is a very basic phenomenon that we have known about for thousands of years. People have seen it. It's well documented. There's a I just don't know why he would
Well,
flip out like that. It's just that's just not what it was about at all.
do you mind what part of the United States are you in?
Currently, I'm in the southeast of the United States.
Well, that's kind of a large area. You can tell I'm from the South, but I've been in Florida for 24 years on the water.
Okay.
So I see the ships and all the time. So yeah, I mean,
So
it's
you know
not
what I'm
like these
talking
people
about
aren't
then.
it's not like the people that are not exposed to seeing it all the time. And you're like, wait a minute. Well, I know that's more than 6.5 miles away and I can still see the thing for an hour, going out to sea.
Okay. Okay, but then what happens after it keeps going farther? You see the if you're zoomed in far enough, you can see the bottom half disappear first, right?
I guess I'll
Have
have
you
to
seen
buy one
that?
of those Nikon 9000s or whatever it is everybody's talking about.
Maybe. There's a lot of pictures online to show it, and
Well,
video and
if I
stuff.
don't take it myself, I don't believe it.
All right, well, be my guest. I mean, I honestly did not believe that that was going to be a point someone challenged, because it is so demonstrably like a common phenomenon. there's a name for it because it's so common. It's a ship being hull down, meaning the hull is below the horizon. So I don't know.
All right.
I just really didn't expect somebody to challenge that. I was not trying to be dishonest, and just the way he went for the jugular there, saying like
Yeah. Well,
it
plus the
started.
boat was like tilted pretty bad, like it was actually going about over the curve, about to fall off. So you might want to look at your picture again.
I mean, I slapped it together in like 20 minutes or 15 minutes or something. I just was not trying to. I was trying to demonstrate a concept, okay? And then we could use that concept to compare with footage or photos if we want, but you can't demonstrate a concept if you. Uh, it's just. I didn't expect that to be an issue. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Know
Well,
your
thank you.
audience.
uh, it's just frustrating, okay? Because to me, it should not have been an issue. To me, it's the fault of flat earthers for making it an issue because they can't follow what I'm saying. Okay, that's my feeling on that. And I know that's probably not how flat earthers see it, but whatever.
All right. Well, be blessed, man. I'm going to bed.
Thanks, you too.
All right.
Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, so who should I do next here? Let's invite Slayer. Welcome, Slayer.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm magnificent. I have a question about something you just said to that gentleman, but I'd like to read a scripture before I do that because y'all were talking biblical, so I want to stay for right there for right now.
Okay.
So if we read Revelations 22, 18 and 19, for I testify to everyone who hears the words of the prophecy of this book, if anyone adds to the things, God will add all the plagues that are written in this book. And if anyone takes away the words of this book of prophecy, God shall take away his part from the book of life, from the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book. So we agree that this book, that right there tells you what happens if you add or take away, correct?
Well, yes,
Okay.
although disagreements about interpretation, if they're done in good faith, I don't think those would qualify, and I certainly hope they don't, because that would put, in my view, put a lot of well-meaning Christians in jeopardy of having, their shares and blessings taken away there.
Well, okay, so, but again, that's the individuals. If we're going by the true words, right there it says what happens if that happens. So you said earlier that God didn't care about the shape of the earth. How would you know exactly what God cares about unless you are in fact that God? Because only he knows what he cares about. So how would you know what he cared about?
Well, I mean, there's there's actually an answer here. Let me show you something here. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, so this is something I posted on TikTok a little bit ago. Here's a couple of examples of things that we can tell the Bible does not care about. Okay, so in 1 Kings 7:23, and you can look this up in your own Bible if you want, it says Solomon made the sea of cast metal. It was round, 10 cubits from brim to brim, and a line of 30 cubits measured its circumference. Now, we know according to geometry, if something is exactly 10 units in diameter, it should be more exactly 31.4, etc., units in circumference. That is demonstrable, okay? Now, are you going to tell me that God is just confused or doesn't know math? Or should we conclude simply that God teach math here?
Well, Okay, can I answer that? But so do you think that your narrative or your interpretation of that scripture right there is the only one? Is that does your ego so big that you think that that's the only interpretation of that passage right there?
Okay, slow down here. I mean, you're using language that's sounding a little heated here. Okay, there's no reason for that.
Wait, so
We're.
now you're
Can
going to
I
wait.
assume that we are both earnest Christians here who are,
No, I'm not a
earnestly
Christian. No, sir. I am not a Christian. You don't have to be a Christian to read and understand the Bible or to even follow the Bible. You don't have to be a Christian. And no, sir,
So
I'm
what do
not
you
here.
care what the Bible says or doesn't say at all?
Wait, just like I said, you don't have to be a Christian to read and understand or follow the Bible. The Bible is an acronym, basic instructions before leaving Earth.
Here I thought it was based on the Latin word for book.
Latin is a spellbinding language. And again, when you go to Revelations 22:18 through 19, it tells you exactly what will happen when you change the words of these books. If you go to 2 Peter 1:20, it says this book is not open for personal interpretation.
That's not exactly what that verse says.
If that's not exactly what that verse is, does not prove me wrong. That is just you saying a nuh-uh.
Okay, I'm starting to feel that this conversation is in bad faith. I'm
Of course you
inclined
would
to
feel
move
that way
along to the
because
next
you
guest.
cannot refute what I'm saying. So therefore you need
That's
an
not why.
excuse to
That's a
get
bad
rid of me.
faith argument.
You need
Please
an
do not
excuse
use.
to get rid
Okay.
of me because you cannot refute what the Bible says and you're standing against it for your.
Yeah, I'll let him believe that that's why I'm kicking him because there's no convincing him. Next guest.
Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Here's one thing I will say. That guy before you made a very valid point, and you shut him up. You shouldn't have
The
done that.
reason I shut him up was because he was starting to make insinuations about what I did or didn't believe or what I did or didn't think. And he was, and then when I threatened to kick him, he said that I was doing it because I didn't have a way to refute his point.
Can I ask you a
That's a
question?
bad faith move.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What is a belief?
That sounds like a trap. What do you mean? What is a
Yeah.
belief?
Well, exactly. What is a belief? Some people
It,
believe in a round earth, flat earth. Some
okay.
people
Can
believe in
you
God or no God. Hold on. Give me a
before
second
we
and
go
let
on?
me
Can you
talk.
tell me what the sound of water is? I'm almost tempted to picture that you're urinating, and it's making me uncomfortable.
Oh no, I live in Florida and I'm sitting outside and it's raining. So I don't know what you're talking about.
All
But
right, all
it was
right.
a good question,
I'm
but I'm
sorry.
answering you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I'm sorry. Go on with your point.
What is a belief?
Yeah, that sounds like such a weird question. This is not a
No, it's not a
philosophy
weird
live.
question. It's not a weird question. All right. Some people believe in God, some people believe in nothing. They believe. It's all a belief. We
Okay.
all believe in something. You can't believe in nothing because the definition of nothing doesn't exist. It's nothing. That's the definition of nothing. So we all believe in something. Me, I personally believe that we all believe in things. And
Are you
I'll
trying
be
to
honest
make the
with you.
point that like atheism or like globe theory is a religious belief? I mean,
Nope, nope, not at all. Here's what I'm trying to say is the Bible, all right? Because this is a biblical thing that we're discussing here in a lot of different ways. Some people are trying to bring it to this flat earth or round earth, and I did as well in the beginning. But hear me out for a second. What does it matter if the earth is round or flat or anything? The Bible is very clear about one thing. There is creation. All right. Now, again, that's what I believe, and I hope you believe. And other people on here may or may
Yeah.
not. It doesn't matter. All right. But there are so many things I can tell you about just my own personal experience. I've never been to space. I guarantee you haven't. Neither one of us can confirm or deny the Earth is round or flat. Doesn't
I
really
can
matter.
confirm the Earth is round. I haven't been to space, but I don't need to.
Nah, I don't
I
know how
mean,
you can.
you
You
go on
can't
with your point. I
confirm it
just
if you
wanted to.
haven't. But if you haven't been there, I mean, look, it doesn't matter. I really don't care. All right, it, it's irrelevant. I mean, it just really is.
Irrelevant to what exactly?
Salvation.
Well, yeah, of course, I agree. 100% agree. That's why I
Dude,
was telling the last guest, whatever his name was, that the warnings in the at the end of Revelation that he read were not warnings against someone accidentally misinterpreting the Bible when they were, genuinely trying to understand God.
oh, dude,
That's warning against
nobody
someone
can
in.
understand God. There's no possible way. I mean,
No, but God has revealed truth to us, and we can understand that truth because He condescended it to us. I mean, God is the greatest communicator. God knows how to help us understand. So obviously, He does not reveal all truth to us. Like there's some truth that would just break our minds, and there are mysteries in the Bible, but the truth that He has revealed, a lot of it, as much of it as He wanted to be understandable, it is understandable. And so, um, my point though is that the warnings in Revelation are only for people who are intentionally distorting truth or adding or subtracting on the Bible, because they, have an agenda, and that helps give us assurance that we are not going to be on the wrong end of that warning
yeah, but
just for making a mistake,
you
an
say
honest
that. Hold
mistake.
on, you say that, but you're the one saying that you've never been to space, or and look, I'm bringing this back to a flat Earth thing, but and I don't know what it is. I really don't. I already
Okay.
told you I don't know if it's flat or round, or if we're flying through space at shoot Mach 50. I don't know, 500,000. Dude, we none of us really know. All right, but my point that I'm trying to make is none of us can make a claim of anything. But the most important thing that all of us, look, all of us, you, me, everyone listening, no matter what is going on, none of us will know unless we actually can get through the firmament or the atmosphere, whatever you believe, it doesn't matter. We not all of us here on Earth that are standing on ground right now. None of us know anything about about
Okay.
anything above us,
Can
other
I
than
can I
when
stop
you
you
get in
here
a
and
yeah.
interject?
When you get into a plane, you can see. When you jump out of one, I've done it quite a few times. Yes, I can see a lot of different things. It's an amazing feeling. All right, but none of us really know what's
Okay.
really going on unless we read the Bible, and the Bible
Now,
is
do
is
you do
is
you
accurate.
do you believe that, um let's say 10 times 2 is 20? Do you believe that?
Well, I can tell you that 1 plus 1 can equal 7.
Come on, man.
Yeah. See, well, this is a simple one. See, you're not open minded enough. Me and my wife created 7 children. One plus
Okay.
one can
Okay, but
equal
that's
7.
changing the parameters. Like, normally when somebody says 1 plus 1 equals 7 with no context, they're
Well,
talking about numerical arithmetic, okay? And that would be
you're
an
using fancy
invalid.
words. All I'm trying to say, I already brought it up to what it was, and I did it before you used fancy words. All right. So I'm not trying to make something up. I explained
I'm
it
just
before
trying
you
to
even
ask
started
you if you
talking.
believe in basic math, okay? Like
Yeah,
If
one
Jane
plus
has
one
one
equals two, of
apple
course.
and
Yes.
Johnny gives another apple to Jane, how many apples does Jane have?
I'm sorry. Say that again.
If Jane has one apple and Johnny gives her one more apple, how many apples does Jane have?
She got two.
Thank you. So 1 plus 1 equals 2, not 7,
Yes.
not 0, not -7, not 100, it's 2. There's one correct answer if you define the parameters of the question, according to a formal
Can you
structure.
do me a favor? I already explained my position before you started with your gaslighting.
I'm not gaslighting,
No, you did because I explained what one plus one, how it can equal seven, before you even
but
started
that was a
talking
red
about.
herring to the question I asked you
Oh,
before
no,
that.
it's not, dude. I explained it before. Yeah, I know you're getting uncomfortable. I can see you getting uncomfortable.
I'm getting
You're getting
uncomfortable because
uncomfortable
you're
because you
talking
know I'm being
nonsense
truthful
and
with
you're
you.
dodging my point. What?
Oh, well, how about we get back to where we're supposed to be on instead of silly things? All
I
right.
agree. Okay, so
Um.
my basic question, what I was trying, I didn't even get anywhere near the point I was trying to make when I asked you, like, does 10 times 2 equal 20? Like, um, that was like a baby step toward my point.
All
And
right.
you
So
just
explain
tried
your
to
point.
dodge it without even knowing anything about where I was going with it.
Hey, look, you don't
And
know anything about me. I honestly don't know anything about you. So be open with me. Tell me your secrets. Tell me what you know. Give me an example of really what you think. Open yourself up. I mean,
I mean, I was getting to the point I was going to make. I'm not being
go ahead,
dodgy
do it.
or opaque
No,
with
no,
you.
you're
I
good.
don't know what you're asking
No,
me.
I'm do it. I'm asking you to open up. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so you've just you've I'm so
I
mixed
know.
up now from the weird place you took this. Okay, so what I was trying to say was
I'm asking you who you are, what you believe. That's what I want to know. Don't placate people on TikTok. Just be who you are.
that's what I'm doing, bro.
I'm gonna tell you who I am. Tell us who you are.
I'm being totally honest and transparent with you. I'm not putting on a mask here.
I'm not
Um,
asking you to, or saying that you are. I'm saying
I
you're
really
here
have
right
no
now. I
idea what
see
you
your
are saying
face.
anymore. This is very confusing. Um, what I was trying to say was basically it 10 times 2 equals 20 is like it's like one step removed from the simple arithmetic of 1 plus 1 equals 2, right? 1 plus 1 equals 2.
You're going into something that we're not talking about. We're not
No, I was
talking
going to
about
connect it. Just
arithmetic.
be patient, please. Let me
All
say
right.
what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
It's one step removed from basic intuitive arithmetic that everybody knows, right? Any person on earth can probably tell you 1 plus 1 equals 2, even if they have not sat in a schoolroom for even 10 seconds. But it takes maybe that long for some people to learn that 10 times 2 equals 20. That's like one step higher, okay? But it's still true. Math is verifiable, okay? That does not mean that 10 times 2 equals 20 is a salvation issue. It also does not mean that God cared about teaching that 10 times 2 equals 20 when he wrote the Bible.
Well,
Those are totally other subjects that have nothing to do with the message of salvation in the Bible. And so, like, yeah, there are things that are true but are not salvation issues, and that does not mean that it's any easier to argue against them, okay? And so, like, I
mm,
believe that the Earth is a globe and that it is just as unarguable as 1 plus 1 equals 2. And the reason is because of sunset. I took this time lapse myself. The sun verifiably goes below eye level, like, which completely flies in the face of modern robothemist flat Earth theory. And so it pushes us into an ancient dilemma of saying, okay, either the sun travels beneath a flat Earth, or the definition of eye level is relative because it's a sphere. So, I mean, that's why I believe the Earth is a globe. You know, at the very least, the sun goes below eye level. That's something that you can verify in your backyard for less than $50. Okay? You don't have to trust another soul on the planet or on the Earth if you don't like the word planet. It does not matter. If you don't trust NASA, it does not matter. The sun goes below eye level, and that is unarguable. Um, it's I mean it's as plain as day. God
But
put it in the
you're
sky.
saying that the below eye level and it's undeniable. And uh, honestly, flat earthers they say the same thing. Look, like I said, I don't see it one way or the other. I really don't care, and that's really not my point. You're trying to do this whole thing, but you're talking biblical, and in all honesty, the Bible doesn't say it is a globe. It doesn't say it's flat one way or the other. It
I
leaves it
100% agree with that statement.
it leaves it up to interpretation. All
Yes,
right.
it does. I agree.
And the one thing that I will say is that there are the people on a left and a right, and dude, they'll die for weird crap. It's stupid. It doesn't matter. Tell
Okay.
me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. They will sit on, they will stand or sit or they will jump on a stone and go, it's this way, and the other
Yeah.
guy's going, it's that way, and we kill each other over it. It's dumb. It's totally dumb.
I agree that the shape of the Earth is not worth the level of argument that it
No, it's
generates.
not just the
Um,
shape of the earth, dude. It's a lot of things. It's everything. It's left. It's right. It's
yes, there's a
dude.
lot that we argue over as human beings that are not
Yeah,
that's
but
not worth
why?
arguing over. I
You know,
agree.
I mean, we argue over the color of skin. The real
Yeah.
problem is that people don't understand that we're all human. We are the human.
Yeah.
We're
Do
not
you
we're
mind if
not
I
black. We're
do you
not
mind if I
white.
move on to the next guest? I'm not sure this is like exactly the conversation I was hoping to have
I know.
on my
I
live.
know. You want Earth as a globe. I get that. And yes, you
I
can go.
appreciate your input. I appreciate you
I
joining, and
appreciate your respect for asking me. Thank you.
thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too.
There is flat.
That sounded a little weird. Did you just whisper to us that the Earth is flat?
Yeah, it's a secret though.
Well, you are broadcasting it online to 124 people, so I think you just let the secret out.
It's flat. It's been flat for quite a while.
Are you whispering because there's like some situation where you don't want to make noise in the room where you're in or something? Is that why you're whispering?
Yeah, but it's flat.
Okay. Do you have an argument to substantiate that, or are you just making an assertion?
I got lots of arguments. I'm a professional flat earther. There's no.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm almost afraid that if I entertain a conversation with you right now, it's gonna like um, trigger sensitivity issues, if like sound sensitivity for some people because the whispering is weird, and like I might lose viewers. I don't mean that to be unkind. Uh, I would like to have a conversation with you, but
well, what do you believe?
well, I believe the Earth is a globe.
Oh, you do? Oh, then I need to be in here. For some
Okay.
reason, I thought you were flatty, the way you worded your question.
Like my
Oh, I got a
question here,
picture.
or like,
Yeah.
well, I'm a glober. Um,
What's your evidence?
well, there's some evidence right behind me.
The eclipse?
No. This is sunset. I took this time lapse myself and made that composite of it to show that the sun goes below eye level.
The sun goes below eye level?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you've heard the phrase "the sun goes down," right?
Does it though? Or is it a convergence?
It does. It's not convergence. I showed it with this experiment.
I don't get what this experiment is.
Okay, so if the sun was traveling away from us horizontally and were to disappear by linear perspective, like with a vanishing point instead of like going below eye level, then that means it should continue to get smaller and smaller and smaller until it's smaller than a grain or pixel in our image and still be above eye level at that point
But you can't
for a
see
long
forever.
time, actually.
You can't see forever, and light dims rapidly. Light dims very rapidly.
Reflected light dims a lot more rapidly than direct line of sight to a light source.
Well,
Okay,
when the
so
sun sets, it's very much more reflected because you're looking through more atmosphere during a sunset than you are when it's a...
that's not reflection, that's attenuation. And that's why in this time lapse, it turns from white to yellow to orange or whatever. Like that's attenuation. That's what you're talking about. But that's not reflection. So but the thing is, like, according to linear perspective, the size and speed of the sun, if it's traveling away horizontally, it would follow an arctangent function. This is not, you can't slip around this. The linear perspective that you're talking about, there is very solid math that it should follow, and it does not even remotely follow that math at all. Like, not even close.
Elaborate.
Okay, so an arctangent. Okay, let me actually just show you shown earlier. Okay, so it's gonna take me just a second here. Okay. Okay, so you see this diagram I made? This is this little stick figure. He's looking at the sun, and when you look at the sun, you only know, how big it is in your vision, right? And that you measure that in angular size. So I've superimposed three scenarios here: red, green, and blue. If he measures the angular size of the sun, or half of the sun, like from the midpoint to the edge, to be 0.27 degrees, then these are three possible scenarios, right? Like in the red scenario, it's like 17 or 18 feet away and 1 inch in radius. Or it could be like 1,120,000 feet away and 1 mile in radius. But you see, when he measures that angle, which he directly sees in his eye, that tells him an exact ratio of radius to distance that the sun has to be. It can only be like along the set of congruent right triangles that allows for that ratio. Okay,
And where
so
our
that's
claim
step
is that
one.
it's the red one, and your claim is that it's the blue one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know if I put in the right numbers for that, but it demonstrates the principle.
Yeah.
So here's the next diagram where we, suppose that the sun is a constant radius moving directly away from the observer, right? So it's still going to be true that for any given angular size, or theta, that's the symbol there, referring to the angle that the stickman sees, for any given angle that he sees, or theta value, the ratio of r over d, radius over distance, is going to be equal to the tangent of theta. That's always, 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 always true. Okay? So if you take that right triangle and you move the sun like straight away from the observer with a constant unchanging radius, what does that do to the right triangle? It lengthens d for distance. So you solve for theta, you get an arctangent function, radius divided by distance. If distance is the only thing in this equation that's increasing, then you have an arctangent function, and it slopes down. Like if you plot it on a graph, it's going to slope down like this, like in this very, very extreme kind of curve. And it's just nowhere near what we actually measure, not even remotely close. We measure the sun to be a constant angular size, and it moves through the sky at a constant angular rate. It just does not follow the math of perspective at all. It is not traveling away from us.
The light gets brighter and dimmer.
That's because of atmospheric attenuation, as you mentioned.
So what's the furthest horizon you think that you can see?
Can you clarify
really
the
this
question?
Is an optical illusion. Like what the horizon is, that line. Obviously the sunset is happening way past the horizon line. So it's not some sort of optical illusion because the sun is not even anywhere close to the horizon line. Like the furthest average horizon line is like 30 miles.
What if it's actually going below eye level? I mean, look, ancient flat earthers, before people knew or believed that the earth was a globe, before 600 BC or whenever the Greeks figured it out, or before, that idea spread to other cultures, there were flat earth cosmologies. All of those people believed that the sun traveled below the flat earth. That is a scientific belief. That is a respectable belief because that's what we observe. The only reason, personally, that I can verify that that's not true is by calling someone in a different time zone and asking, hey, is it day for you or night for you? And finding out that, oh, guess what? My definition of eye level is relative because it's different from somebody overseas. That's the only reason that I can personally verify that those ancient flat earthers were incorrect. Otherwise, their cosmology.
Said the sun was below the earth?
Yeah, because they acknowledged that sunset shows the sun going below eye level, and their inference was the sun goes below the earth.
But
it might be a flat earth.
It goes below eye level.
What?
You are also saying that it goes below eye level.
That's right, because it does. That's undeniable. It is scientifically provable that the sun goes below eye level, one way or another.
Because you stop seeing it?
No, because it travels at a constant angular rate and keeps a constant angular size.
So this picture is a time lapse of one day?
Yeah, it's a little over 3 hours of sunset.
And
I made a whole video about it. You can see on my profile, and if you find it on YouTube, there's links to more data about the experiment that I performed. I used scientific instruments to actually measure it numerically. We're not trusting just our eyes here. We're using scientific instruments. And I plotted it on
but you can't
a graph.
deny that it gets much brighter at high noon and much.
Well, yeah, of course. That's why I used. See, what you're seeing here is one camera with no filter showing the same time lapse from exactly the same time and location, and then on this side it's the same time lapse. I had two cameras just this far apart, and one of them had welding glass in front of the lens, and that's what this is. So that shows that the solar disk, if you actually measure its size, it doesn't change
What's
size.
causing the dim effect? The dimming effect.
What?
What's causing the dimming effect?
It's from the angle of sunlight hitting the atmosphere at a more shallow angle, which causes the ray to travel through more of the atmosphere. It's causing more attenuation. So the sunlight is like it's getting dimmer because there's more atmosphere between you and the sun at a shallower angle.
Yeah, because atmosphere is reflecting, but you have a different word for it.
Scattering.
Scattering the light.
Yeah.
Because it's a sharper angle. Because it's appearing to set. But it's not. It's staying the same height. I mean, let's go with this. You got a drone. You leave the drone at the same height, and you fly it away from you.
Then it's going to follow an arctangent
that
function.
its elevation is dropping to eye level.
According to an arctangent
but
function.
It's staying at this exact same elevation. But like, so
the
I don't
angle would
understand.
change according to an
You made
arctangent
an
function.
assumption that it drops below eye level, but we can do this experiment on a smaller level with the drone. Keep it
And
at
the
the same
drone
height.
follows the arctangent function.
Yes, but it never. It appears to drop in elevation. But
No, it follows the
stays at
arctangent
the
function.
same height.
The arctangent function does not cause the appearance of something going below eye level. It causes the appearance of something disappearing to the vanishing point. That's what the sun would do, according to your Robothemist model. But it doesn't, because the sun doesn't follow anything even remotely resembling an arctangent function.
Really?
Right.
It doesn't.
No, not even close.
How so?
I already tried to explain this. The arctangent function, if you plot it on a graph, it slopes like this. It's very pronounced, right? And it actually has what's called a limit, meaning that it approaches zero, but it never reaches zero. So you can follow it for infinity, and it will still,
but you can't
by some
see
minute
forever.
degree,
You can't see forever, and we're talking about
I'm
an
talking
optical
about
illusion.
math. Okay,
I
you're
know
not even listening.
It's an optical illusion, though. You can't apply this to math, dude. You're talking
yes,
about
you can.
a sun who's at least 1,000 miles up or more.
This is
but
as
it's
verifiable as 1 + 1 = 2. You can do the math on a triangle on a piece of paper. You can do the experiment with your drone. I promise you, your drone will follow an arctangent function. This is not arguable.
Bro, you think
I'm
that
not
because
trying to
the
be
sun
mean.
doesn't shrink when you're talking about the horizon is 50 miles away, and you're saying because the sun doesn't shrink that it's verifiably false? Do you know how many verifiably false things we can come up for your model? And do you see how your logic
None,
is
actually,
extremely
but
flawed?
that's not the only thing. The sun, it's not just that the sun doesn't shrink, it's that the sun doesn't slow down either. Look, I did an experiment where I took a flashlight. It was nighttime, and I put my camera on the ground on like a long bridge. This is in my one of my videos about linear perspective. I think it's actually pinned on my profile. I had a flashlight, and I held it down at my waist, pointed at the camera, and I just walked away along the bridge for like hundreds of feet until I was gone to the camera's eye. And it shows that the light from my flashlight follows that arctangent function. It gets smaller and smaller and slows down as it descends on the screen. It gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it hovers there for a long time while I'm walking away, getting smaller and smaller until it's just a pinpoint. And then finally, it disappears because it's literally smaller than a pixel. Okay, that's what the sun would do if it were traveling away. It does not do that. The solar disk is still way bigger than a pixel in, my camera's view here, or in the camera's view of any person who, measures it this way. It's way bigger than a pixel, and it just slides down like a puppet show or something. It's not getting farther away. It's not.
Okay,
I mean,
fair
it's
enough.
so obvious to our eyes. The only reason that you're saying that it travels away horizontally is because you are convinced by this robothemism. Nobody thought this before Samuel Robotham in 1849. Nobody. This is ridiculous. The only reason people think it nowadays is because of him and because of conflict thesis.
What did he do?
Samuel Robotham? He started the modern flat Earth movement.
And rightly
He
so,
started. He
because
decided that he did not like the Newtonian physics and like this like space science that they were starting around in the mid 1800s because he was also influenced by conflict thesis. He thought he had to choose between science or the Bible because atheists convinced him that he had to do that. So he thought, okay, if I
I
have
don't
to
like
choose,
arguing.
I'm going to choose the Bible. So he set out to disprove Newton, and he, managed to convince himself, and then also managed to convince a few other people, and they started the first, flat Earth society, and then it lingered in obscurity until social media, and that's where you come into the picture.
And rightly so. I think I have more than enough justification as well as like hard evidence, and you have a claim that starts with an assumption that it should get smaller. That's what you're
It's a
claiming. It
claim that
should
starts
get
with
smaller.
math. That's
Your
not an
math is
assumption,
flawed.
it's
We're
math.
talking about an optical illusion. You use math to explain optical illusions. No.
You yourself just a minute ago tried to tell me that this was comparable to a drone flying away at a constant height.
Oh, it most definitely is.
It most
It
definitely is
appears
not,
to
because the
drop
sun doesn't do that.
below eye level, does it not?
The drone would not go below eye level, no. The
It
drone
appears
would
to drop
disappear.
to eye level. You could have a drone 100 feet above your head, fly it straight away from you, and it appears to drop to eye level. But it's not.
To
It's at the
eye
same
level.
elevation.
To eye level, not below eye level. Actually, eye level is what's called its infinitesimal limit. It continues to slow down as it approaches eye level, and it approaches eye level continually, getting slower and slower and slower until it's just gone because it's too small. That's what happens.
And no, and you're fair to have that assumption, but to make your claim
That's not an
on
assumption.
that entire
That is
assumption,
what that is
yes,
as
it
that
is.
is as verifiable as 1
You
+ 1 = 2.
have an assumption on the
No,
optical
you're just
illusion of
denying
the
math at this point.
sunset that you
You're
claim that it should get smaller.
you're just denying math at this point.
No.
I recommend that you look up conflict thesis because, I mean, I don't know if you're a Christian or not, but a lot of flat earthers are. I think
I'm not.
Samuel Robotham was a Christian. It plays a big part in this conversation. You have been duped by atheists, basically,
How so?
by believing in conflict thesis, that you have to choose either science or the Bible. And I'm telling you, 1 + 1 = 2. And it's as simple as that. The Earth is a globe. There is no way to argue with the sun going below eye level.
What's your
That's
best? If this is your best evidence, some claim that you see the sun go below eye level.
You keep saying some claim. I've done the math. I've measured it myself. That's not just some claim. It's not an
You're
assumption.
doing
This is
math on the sunset. An
yes.
optical illusion.
It's not an optical illusion. That's
You
you
made
making
an
an assumption.
assumption that
That's
the sun
you
should
making
shrink.
an assumption.
You
Okay,
made
so
an assumption that the
I have
sun
another
should get
guest. I think this
smaller.
is devolving. I appreciate the conversation that you have provided here. I appreciate your respectfulness. And do you have any other thoughts before I move on?
I mean, I think your claim is extremely flawed, and if this is all you have to support your globe model, then that's just fucking sad. This is your best claim for the globe to be correct. When
I recommend that you look
Do you
up
know how many
conflict
claims
thesis.
that I can throw at you that make absolutely no fucking sense on your model? That literally cannot,
Okay,
will not, and will
I'm
never work.
I'm not interested in going that direction.
I know you're not interested. None of you globies are interested in going that direction.
Okay, don't do that. Don't
Any
do that.
type of
I will kick
logical,
you.
critical thinking person calls their model into.
Okay, just for the record, everyone, I do not entertain someone saying you won't go there because you don't like the argument because you're no. Don't start saying why I will or will not do something. I will always kick you. Okay? We lost our We lost one of the guys who was requesting to join. All right, so let's see. I've been going for like almost 4 hours now. Holy crap. I should probably go, guys. I don't think I have any requests at the moment, so this might be a good time. I got work in the morning, so thank you, everyone. This has been wonderful, except the few times when it wasn't. Um, I appreciate it. I appreciate all of the support and all of you guys viewing. So yeah, thank you. You're fighting a good fight. Thank you. Lucas Lundgren says you're a good debater. Thank you. Robert says I'll chat next time. All right, see you there. I think you were respectful. Somebody just was this a request? Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go to bed. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna decline that request. Thanks, everybody. Papa Hack says I appreciate you keeping it respectful. I try. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.